Hey there, you're listening to You Still Going On About That with Rob Israel and Joseph K. You can find us anywhere you could download podcasts. You could also find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at YSGOAT. Thanks for listening. I'm Rob Israel.
I'm Joseph K.
And you still going on about
that?
All right, Joseph. It's Wednesday, April 13th, 9:30 p.m.
10:30 p.m.
9:30. 9:30 p.m. What you're talking about?
Well, I had so much was going through my brain as we were starting. Right after I hit record, I had been tempted to introduce my bit in full Gilbert Gottfried voice. And at the last second, I decided not to.
Oh, shucks. That would have been such a great tribute to the man we just lost him.
Exactly. Like
a brilliant tribute. Whoa.
I watched his roast of Roseanne today on YouTube.
Oh, I didn't see that. What was it? What did he say about her? I totally.
The running theme was he called her Rosilla. And he made all this like extended 8-minute long bit where like every 30 seconds he would shout out like Rosilla, and then he'd like talk about her tail. They always forget about her tail. Her tail's like and if
only they roasted her like 2 years ago.
Exactly, yeah.
After she like, or was it like 3 years ago after she I mean, she was nuts for a while now, and I mean, she's always been supposedly crazy.
Well, she had a lot of goodwill at the time, you could tell. And this was it must have been a while ago, because Gilbert Gottfried was, and he did. I'd forgotten how like incendiary he was, but he was grossly over the line on a couple jokes, and it was
he's great. So Gilbert Gottfried passed away recently.
Yes.
I think yesterday.
Yeah.
And yeah, he definitely crossed the line. A lot of jokes. He's famous for that aristocrat joke, which I'm like, I never really cared for it. I always thought it was like, okay, I get it. It's like 20 minutes long, and he's like, and you're sucking and fucking, and it's like it goes on, and I'm like, I get it. It's
a lot of people said that his last words were the aristocrats.
But it's like, because of what he was and who he was and what he looked like and everything, it was kind of like a harmlessness to him.
Yeah.
Like, that's disgusting. I mean, he had some real gross shit. I remember like on Howard Stern.
Yeah.
Like I used to, when he went over to Sirius or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know how I listened to it at the time. I think the show just kind of ended up in my lap.
Okay, sure.
I don't know how. Like a ghost gun.
Yeah.
Which we'll be talking about later. And I remember he was on a lot around that time. Like Howard had him on like at least once a week.
Yeah.
Times a week. I remember he was like going off about Bindi, making really disgusting jokes about Bindi.
The
daughter of who's an adult now,
Steve
but at the
Irwin.
time was a child. He's like, oh, Bindi. I don't know. It was really gross. Like I don't even remember the jokes. But I used to those pretty at work. I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And man, he was like, he had a Dracula character that he did. It was pretty funny.
God.
I mean, he was like famous for being like Problem Child. I forgot that he did all the Rhonda Shear Up All Night stuff in the 80s. He's just like one of those people. He's just been around forever. He's like, his voice will pop up in a cartoon.
Yep.
I watched some cartoon recently. I forgot what it's called. He played God. And just like out of nowhere, his voice showed up. They would use him. I forgot he was used for something else.
Well, he was the Aflac Duck before he got let go.
Why did he get let go?
Well, he did all
probably the funniest thing in his career.
These tsunami jokes. And this was his Roseanne roast must have been after the tsunami jokes, because he referenced that in his bit. But yeah, he on Twitter did a whole bunch of jokes about the tsunami, which had killed a bunch of people. I don't know if it was in Japan or Taiwan, or it was in a Asian country, and he got he was probably one of the first people that got canceled per se. He lost his Affleck contract. He got
there was a big reason why that happened though. It wasn't just because it was offensive.
Well, they were very offensive, but yes.
Well, yes. I forgot what there was something about the house getting washed away or something.
Yeah, they were. I read them. I went on like a Gilbert Gottfried. They weren't that fun. It was almost like he was workshopping jokes.
That was the problem with Twitter at the time, is that people were workshopping jokes on Twitter, not realizing that, like, oh yeah, like this is a public record. I can everything I'm writing here.
That's exactly what I thought. I was,
and I'm also the voice of a
lovable duck.
A like insurance expansion. Like, it's not even insurance. Like, what is that flag? It's like another. It's like, hey, you like insurance, but you want to pay more.
It's a specific...
you like paying for insurance, but you want to have another insurance on top of it.
Yeah, it's a specific type of insurance.
It's like what, like a safety measure or something?
No, it's like short-term disability. Like normally, like if you, I don't know, have like if you get mononucleosis and you're going to be out of work for like 5 weeks, and you have health insurance that'll cover your health bills, but your sick leave only covers a week off work. Then what are you,
United States?
What are you going to do for 4 weeks without pay? You know, the government will protect your job. You'll be able to get your job back if you have a doctor's note or whatever. But like, where do you get your money for? And Affleck will pony up the money for you for those 4 weeks. Cover your paycheck.
Supposedly, the problem with him being the pitch man for this company was that one of the biggest consumers of Affleck was that part of the world.
Okay, sure.
Like literally almost rivaled America, supposedly.
Right. Well, I could see.
Hold on 1 second. I gotta deal with this cat.
Well, I don't know. Like I said, that Roseanne roast, I had kind of forgotten how like problematic Gilbert Gottfried was at times, and how it was. I guess those were different days back then.
Well, he's a funny comedian, I'm sure.
Yeah.
If I look back at his catalog of humor, I realize wow, that's revolting and everything like that. And I'm sure, but you know what? Again, it's all about the vehicle. And it was like a harmlessness to him.
It
was a disgusting little man.
Well,
and, there's like the difference between him and like, let's say a comedian like Dave Chappelle,
right,
or supposedly a Joe Rogan or Bill Maher, is that they try to come off serious. Gilbert Gottfried would just shrug and just sort of shuffle away, like he was like a true comedian's comedian.
He was I
don't think he ever tried to pull that bullshit of like, I'm gonna say something serious, but then use a comedian excuse to get out of it.
No, he was more like, what was it, Ignatz and Crazy Cat, where he would just like throw bricks and shit, you know?
Yeah, I have no idea what you just said. What?
You don't know Ignatz and Crazy Cat? It was like some old 1920s cartoon where like the cat was in love with the mouse, and the mouse would like lead the cat on and then like blindside it by throwing a brick at its head.
I really don't know what that is. It sounds familiar, but there's a great clip of him. I guess he did Celebrity Apprentice and someone played it where Donald Trump said something to him and he says, "Thank you, mein Führer." This is years before obviously Trump ran for president and decided
and was revealed as a
Nazi.
Well,
brilliant clip.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. What?
The last time I saw Gilbert Gottfried, my wife watches these shows on TLC or whatever, and she used to watch the show all the time called Flea Market Flip. And the shtick is that these people go to a flea market like in upstate Vermont or rural New York or whatever, and they buy like nonsense from a flea market, and then they like put a bird on it or they do something weird and they sell it. They flip the flea market product.
They try to make it more than right.
Yeah, and two teams compete against each other, and whoever gets the most money wins. And anyway, Gilbert Gottfried was on one of these as like a celebrity flea market flipper. This was not that long ago. dude looked like he was maybe 3'6" and weighed like 40 pounds.
I think he's been sick for several years now.
Yeah.
I was looking at recent pictures of him, and I mean, the guy was 67. He wasn't
not that
old, but he wasn't young at all. I mean, he's an old man at that point.
Well, he looked. I remember just looking at him and being so struck. I mean, I heard him talk, and I was like, "That's Gilbert Gottfried."
So what did he die of? Cancer?
I don't know. All the obituaries I read just said like long-term illness or something like that. I don't know. I mean, cancer would be a good guess because he looked like he was just like there's nothing there, like he was a shell. So it's a shame. I mean, he's.
I think he's one of those last true, like, I mean, I'm not saying the last, but one of those like kind of just real cartoonish comedian characters. Like, get a lot of those, like, what's that guy's name? The guy who threw the confetti.
Oh yeah,
little wax mustache. Like,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
What was it? Rip Taylor.
Yeah. Okay.
Or like like Buddy Hackett or any of these like a real comedian, not really trying to be outside of that. He did some cartoon voices. Like Yago was the biggest thing he did. Yeah. Oh God, that awful remake, the one with Will Smith.
Oh yeah.
They didn't bring him back to do the voice. They got like Alan Tudyk or something. I don't know. Yago wasn't as important of a character this time.
Well, you're right. Yeah. He was a bridge between like the old comedians like George Burns and stuff like that, and like
shticky, like more of a shtick. You don't let go of the shtick. You don't try to like, well, the study of comedy and
right.
Let me sound important here right now with my cigar and
they all like
joke to you now. It's like, he's a comedian.
He was a pre-Generation X comedian. Like, I think that the Generation X comedians and after,
I think I know what you mean.
Yeah,
right.
They
definitely 80s, like, but like kind of bled in, and he's like a prom child. He was in like, I forgot what other movie he was in.
He wasn't ironic at all. Like all modern comedians have some element of irony to him. There's no irony with him. He was committed.
Well, that's why everyone said, I don't know, did you see my cartoon I did?
Yeah, with the Dolly Parton thing.
Yeah, well, I said, and everyone talks about the Aristocrats joke, but the one thing I always remember from him was just the simplicity of his one dumb joke where he was just like, Dolly Parton, and he's holding like two like cooking sheets to describe Dolly Parton's bosoms, and then he lowered the cooking sheets and said Dolly Parton's grandmother, and it worked.
Yeah,
it's comedy. You don't have to. It's like, I get it. It's there. I get the joke. Breast drop age. And that's very funny, Gilbert. Very funny.
Yeah.
The flesh, aging flesh is hysterical. Very funny joke.
Well, it does. I mean, it both. It's tragedy plus time. It's what it is. That's
nothing funnier.
That's the definition of comedy: tragedy plus time. So,
it's timing, literally time.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I was actually genuinely upset, and let me tell you, we lost some. Oh my God! Okay, so Norm Macdonald.
Yep. Yeah.
Bob Saget.
Yep.
Louis Anderson.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah.
And Gilbert Gottfried. Like a 4-month period. Some guy tweeted a picture who's like, and no joke, this guy I've seen on Twitter. Okay, it's from January, and he's like, he's like, Norm Macdonald, Bob Saget, Louis Anderson dead. That someone better make sure Gilbert Gottfried's okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's a funny thing. Like, it's a shame. It's like they're just entertainers. They were funny. And like I said, one time I saw him walking. I was walking in New York City.
Well, that's right.
Got to be like over 2 decades ago. I was with my friends, and we were like Midtown or something. And we're walking on the block, and literally right next to us walking is Penn Jillette and Gilbert Gottfried.
Yeah.
And not in their stage clothes.
Sure.
I don't know what they're Ben not being in a suit or
yeah.
And Gilbert probably just dressed the way he would have dressed anyway.
Right, how I saw him on flea market flips, right?
Yeah. I'm going on. Yeah. And people said that like the joke is he had this voice, and like, was it a complete put on? Like,
Yeah.
or does he talk like this after?
Right.
Like, oh, anyone have any tea with honey? I did a full set and I'm a little sore right now. Yeah. No, he sounded exactly like that. People like said that. I was always people talking about like, he's like, hey, Penn, where do you want to go? I don't know.
Right.
I'm not even joking. I was like, holy shit, it's Gilbert Godfrey. Like,
that's crazy.
Walking. I'm like, didn't say anything to him. I'm like, we'll leave him alone.
Yeah.
They're not in they're just dudes walking in the streets, you know.
Yeah, they're off the clock.
What?
They're off the clock.
Yeah, they didn't punch in at the Penn and Teller, or I don't know, Gilbert Godfrey.
Penn Station. That's where they
at Penn Station. That's where Penn was going. That's where he punches in.
The home office.
Yep, duh. All makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. I was like generally upset by this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, what else we got to talk about this week? I mean, I'm sure we got more uplifting things to talk about, right?
We do. We have we're going to talk about a series of kind of shows we've been watching. We're going to talk about Moon Knight, the series finale, season finale of Severance, and For All Mankind. You're almost done with the first season, and that's a show I've been really loving for a while. And then
I guess the guy from Battlestar Galactica, the recent one,
it is
the recent series, which I never got into that.
I loved that.
Loved it. I never got into it.
Yep, it's the Battlestar. He cut his bones, I think, on like Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Oh,
and
really? Okay.
He did a lot of Star Trek stuff, and but I heard. Well, we'll talk about that when we get to the For All Mankind. We're gonna talk about Greg Abbott and his human trafficking ring that he's got going. We're gonna talk about Ron DeSantis and his little fatherhood celebration. We're talking about Ben Shapiro, who's
getting bozoed.
Whose most recent attempt at destroying someone in debate went a little awry. Went a little awry. We talk about right-wing Twitter, ghost guns, and then on a kind of a serious note, a somber note, the New York City shooting, which occurred was just yesterday, right? Subway shooting was yesterday. They called it today.
Yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday.
So that's the show.
Yeah, I also I forgot. Let's just talk about this real quick. We talked about this last week. Elon Musk, the right wingers were going nuts. So he bought he talked shit about Twitter. Supposedly the value went down, and then because he has that power, he's a billionaire.
Yeah,
he decided, I'm gonna buy I don't know. I think he bought almost $3 billion worth of Twitter stock. So
10% or so,
almost 10%, which made him the not a majority owner, but the most owning the most.
Yeah,
I guess spread out.
Right.
And there was all this talk about him going to be on the board.
Right.
And that he was making all these all the right wingers were like, oh my god, yeah, it's so funny because it's all these people do all the time is push their bullshit app, their Twitter clone that never goes anywhere. And at the end of the day, they really just want to be on Twitter and they want to be able to control the conversation with their bullshit. Yeah. And
they all want to be Ben Shapiro with a microphone.
Yeah.
And they don't want anyone else to have a microphone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess the current CEO, which is not Jack, that guy left.
Right.
He announced that Musk will not be on the board, actually. It was all this talk, and now it won't. Because a couple of things. One, if you're on the board, supposedly you can't own more than 14%. So that means if Elon wants to try to become 20% owner, he can't.
Right, he can't.
Also, you're not supposed to disparage the app on Twitter if you're one of the people whose main sole purpose is to talk about how great the app is and how to improve it. And here's this guy who spent a week talking shit about it and then bought it. And I'm sure again he has other shit to do, or he's got
presumably
Yeah, he's got it's gonna take time to have him
He's got
trolling.
taxes to dodge.
He's got taxes to dodge. He's got to troll people. He's got to take credit. I was gonna make a joke and say that like he probably like was gonna come out and claim that he created Twitter now.
Yeah.
And all his followers would say that, or what they would say is that he's the one that made it profitable, or he's the one they'll give him some credit. So it's kind of funny, like how that just kind of happened, and and now it's like, who gives a shit?
Yeah.
I mean, but he's probably like, what? It's like, did you waste $3 billion? I mean, $3 billion to him is like $100 or something.
Twitter's not going down on that. I mean, he could always sell it tomorrow for probably a profit or a very marginal loss. I heard a third reason that he didn't join, and I don't know how true this is, I never really followed up on it, was that to join the board, you had to undergo a pretty extensive background check.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
And like, and that he wanted no part of that. So
I mean, like, I don't know what they would find on him. Probably taxes.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be anything like terribly shocking or scandalous or anything like that. But I think it would be enough so that like he didn't want any part of that. So
yeah, I only brought that up because I was like trying to find a tweet I said about Gottfried, and I bumped into this. But I did find this one tweet that I said that was got a good reaction. Let me see if I can find it. It was let me see, where is it? Well, okay, so Elon Musk, I retweeted a screenshot because someone had it. It says, SpaceX launching satellite Doge 1 to the moon next year. Mission paid for in Doge, first crypto in space, first meme in space, to the moon. I wrote, why does one of the richest people in the world tweet like a 14-year-old moron?
Yeah. It's crazy.
My apologies to 14-year-old morons, but like, it's bizarre. I mean, like, this is a guy who's supposed to be well respected. Listen, I'll give Jeff Bezos and Gates and all that. They don't do shit like this.
No,
they don't do dumb shit like this. They're just rich assholes, and we know they're rich assholes. We don't think of them as like rock stars or anything like that.
Elon Musk clearly has some weird Trump-like need to be admired. Like it's a super deep,
I think it's just years ago he would try to get like social credits by like saying like his company is going to do this and this and donate money to this, do this. And then I think like he got exposed as being a liar and a grifter when like the Thailand thing, when he called the real hero of the kids a freaking he called him a pedo because
that's like cutting edge right-wing criticism. That's cutting edge right-wing criticism. He was
just
years
to call
ahead
someone
of
a
the
pedo. That's like that's like every right winger now. They just call you a pedo. But it's like he announced he wanted to get all the social credit for that and like say like, oh, I created this like submarine that's gonna like that will never get made in time, won't get there in time. The kids will be dead before they even and it wouldn't even work. And the guy who rescued them actually called him out on it. And that's when he, like a child, called him. And I feel like once he did that, I feel like all that shit was exposed. And then like his company made flamethrowers.
Yeah, the
like,
Boring Company.
Yeah, like what? Why are you selling flamethrowers? It was like weird. It's like weird shit. And then like then I think COVID just outright exposed him for the piece of shit that he is.
Yeah,
and that's it. I think it's like he can't be the hero anymore, or people are starting to realize that. So he's like he's becoming the villain. It's like that cheesy line that people use in Dark Knight, like live long enough, you become the villain.
Right. You
start as the hero, but if you
live long enough, you'll become the villain. Yeah, I know.
And I think that's exactly what's going on here. But I think people are just and it's not even just that. It's like my issue with like other people like Chappelle and all that. It's like it's not, you gotta look at like not just look at what they say, but look who they attract and who is elevating or de-elevating. I'm just right. That. But like that's what I always say. Look at who, if Donald Trump Jr. is coming out in defense of you, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, you're lost.
Trash. You're garbage. You're
exactly.
Like, if you don't come out and say, listen, I may have said some things or whatever, people may not agree with me, and that's fine. But I will say this: I do not want any association with a living turd like Donald Trump Jr. I mean, like, if you don't come out and say that, then
no, you should be like, look, I may be a lot of things, however,
listen, I may be an intergalactical space villain, but I ain't into rape.
Right.
That's wrong.
Just like War. Just like
War, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of what you got to say. You got to be like, listen, you know, I may have said some awful things like that, but
yeah,
I don't want to be associated with like Lauren Boebert.
Yeah, I'm going to take a week off Twitter and rethink my life because Donald Trump Jr.
I'm going to go away for a little while, reassess some things, maybe make some donations to some groups and
see where it all went wrong.
See where it did wrong, because right now, Charlie Kirk, Ben Shapiro, Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Tim Pool retweeted me twice today, and that's just
Donald Trump's stool retweeted me.
Yeah.
Best stool, the very best stool, the best poop. Wow. There was something else I wanted to talk about, and I like totally blanked on it. I don't know. I mean, all right, let's just go into
Moon Knight.
Speaking of, I don't know. Well, so we're in the third episode of Moon Knight.
Yeah, halfway through the series.
And what did you think? What do you think so far?
You know, I did not. It's tough. I loved a lot of pieces of it. I loved the idea. Like Oscar Isaac's great. I think he's consistently good in this. I like the supporting characters. I think they're all interesting. I like the idea that they're in Egypt and they show Egypt as kind of this like it's not like, you know, so sometimes they
like the credits, the music in the credits.
Yeah, but overall, I'm like, man, there's just not a ton happening. It's almost like they're telling
too, a little bit, right?
It's confusing.
They introduced all these like gods, but they're like the avatars of gods.
Yeah, and like, look, a lot of people don't have like a super great familiarity with the Egyptian gods. You know, like people get Roman gods, Greek gods, even Norse gods to an extent. Egyptian gods are a little tough for most people in the Western audience, I have to think.
I always like hearing about Horus because Horus is basically just Jesus.
Yeah, there's like the hawk head god, and there's a crocodile head god, and then there's Isis, and like
that's why I like my god Simple, and he's the one that created Dianetics.
Right, Elrond.
Tom Cruise.
Well, I don't know. So like, look, I didn't love it, and I watched the whole thing. I'm gonna rewatch it, but it feels like they're telling me what is happening rather than showing me what is happening.
Yeah, and there's like this guy that like I don't know. I meant to rewatch it. I'm gonna have to rewatch it, but like it begins with them in Egypt, and now there's some cool. All right, so there's some cool elements. We'll talk about that. Real quick.
Yeah.
So they kind of hinted at it already that there's a third personality,
right?
And like right now, it's been established that we have Stephen Grant.
Yep.
What's the other guy's name again? The main guy.
Mark
Spector.
Mark Spector is he was up until now, he was like the tough guy.
And the joke now is that like we were getting scenes where Mark Spector is in conflict, but he's blacking out, and we're seeing like dead bodies and stuff like that. And it's like, well, we know that's not Steve Grant doing it, and there has to be another personality. And could it be Khonshu just completely taking him over? Probably not. Khonshu wants Mark to do it, not him. He's not going to do it. Like,
right.
He's not allowed to get too involved. That's why there's this thing earlier where he talks about like changing the stars from 2,000 years ago.
Yeah. That's a real cool scene.
But he's basically saying like, I'm defying the gods. I'm going to get in like a lot of trouble. And it's probably the last time you're going to see me.
Yeah, he said when Mark comes back, tell him to break me out or something. I mean, it's
yeah. I thought that was kind of they turned him into a little PVC figure in the end.
Yeah.
Spoiler, sorry, but they established that there's clearly another personality, and we know if you know anything about the comics, there are three personalities. There's Mark Spector, Steve Grant, and there's Jake Lockley. Let me see if I get that again. Moon Knight. Yeah, Jake Lockley.
Okay, yeah.
Now, like I said, he's basically Moon Knight's guy in the street who gathers information.
Yeah.
Moon Knight is a weird pastiche of Batman. He was always Marvel's kind of loosey-goosey pastiche of Batman. More Batman doesn't really have, like, yes, they always talk about the duality of Bruce Wayne and Batman. I'm like, no, they're the same person. Bruce Wayne's the cover,
Right?
Batman, or like as Bill and Kill Bill would describe Superman. He tells her in the end of the movie, he goes, Superman, that Clark Kent is Superman's disguise. It's not the other way around.
Yeah.
Even though he's wrong. Clearly, Quentin Tarantino is a pre-Infinite Crisis on Earth DC fan and doesn't understand that it was Clark is the guy, Superman is the character, is the disguise. Superman is Clark. Hold on, I gotta deal with the cat real quick.
Yeah. Well, it is weird. There are a lot of parallels between Moon Knight and Batman, and not the least of which, I guess I had never really thought about it before, but the Dark Knight and Moon Knight, there's kind of like even a similarity in the names,
Well, yeah, Jake Lockley is basically Matches Malone.
Yeah.
Matches Malone is Batman's like character who goes to the bar and goes, hey,
right.
What's the deal with this Joker guy? I'm Matches Malone. You can trust me. I'm not Bruce Wayne and I'm not Batman.
Well,
some guy.
Know. It's just this. The show feels like, man, it does. If it feels like it's not building momentum, I guess is
it's like I don't really know who the villain is. I mean, I guess like what's his face is the villain?
Ethan Hawke's Harlow.
Yeah,
Harrow or Harrow.
Well, they say like he's trying to like bring to life some god, some deity.
Yeah, and that god sounds terrible. So he is the bad guy. The god is like the pre-crime. I'll kill people before they have a choice to do something bad.
Well, it's like some alligator head god or something.
Yeah, but like I'm not even. I mean, like the way Moon Knight is presented. Like, we hardly even see Moon Knight. I mean, Moon Knight's been in the show.
He shows up. It's like the joke is Moon Knight is. It's like almost feel like I'm watching the Incredible Hulk show in the 70s. Where the Hulk would show up for like 3 minutes. Bruce Banner would. I always know this about the Hulk. I remember as a kid, it was a formula, and it literally every episode, Hulk. Bruce Banner returned to the Hulk one time before the second act.
Yep. Yeah.
Then he would turn to Hulk in the third act. Every episode.
Yeah.
And they're kind of like doing that where Mark's Moon Knight shows up in the last 10 minutes of the episode.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's been the path. Well, the first one he shows up for 2 seconds, which was very effective and very cool.
Oh, yeah. The first one, that's fine.
He shows up in this one for 10 seconds. And he shows in the second episode again, it's like the last 15 minutes. And then this one, like, again, the last 15 minutes. I do like the whole when Steve Grant takes over, and then now and I just like that he has his own version of Moon.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of funny. I don't, again, I'm not really familiar with the comic currently because they're characters in there. I don't know. And again, I think they changed the Steve Grant character around because they didn't want to associate too much with Batman. But Steve Grant is supposed to be the billionaire basically Moon Knight's billionaire financier.
Okay, sure.
Is Steve Grant, and he's basically Bruce Wayne. Like, he's not supposed to be some, like, I could be wrong. Like I said, they might change things in the comics over the years, especially if they know they're making like a TV series or a movie, they'll alter things, they'll flip things around. But yeah, he is literally like the Bruce Wayne character. And Mark Spector is like supposed to be the mercenary character, and Jake Lockley is supposed to be like the guy on the street.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that all makes sense. It's just like it's a real disjointed show thus far. And I don't know. I mean, I like it just fine. Like I said, there's enough going for it to keep me around. But it's slow going at times, I think.
I'm hearing rumors that the 4th episode or the 4th and 5th episode are supposed to have like some of the most amazing action scenes ever in like TV, supposedly. Like, we'll see. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not like I don't hate on it. Like I it's funny. I think people are just getting Marvel fatigue. It's so funny. Like all these like fans and stuff, they want like I want to see the new Warriors on screen. I want to see this on screen. I want to see this on screen. And it's like it just shows you what like how a different medium can be. The problem is with Marvel, like, eventually like they own the X-Men.
Yeah.
Now Disney owns the X-Men again because they bought Fox, and at some point we're going to get the X-Men. But the problem is with Marvel is that you have repetitive characters. So each series of comic book would have like their Rocket Raccoon, or their they would have their kind of version of it. But when you bring that to the big screen or TV, you get a different kind of audience, because most people they're going to be like, what, this guy's just like Rocket Raccoon, or this guy's just like that. And you start seeing like repetition of different characters. There's only so many characters, and every character kind of serves a role on a team. Like I remember for years, I would read the X-Men comics, and then there would be X Factor, and then there would be X-Force, and there'd be these, and I would read them, and I'm like, they're good, but like at the end of the day, there's still the same like 7-8 character archetypes that fulfill in each team. But it works because it's just a comic. It's like $8 for it, or now $4, $5 for it. Shit's expensive. But when you watch it on TV or in a movie, people get like, it's funny, they can't help it, they just get so much more critical. And they're like, oh, this guy's just like this, or this guy's just like that. So for years, Marvel developed all these characters, and I think as these shows come out, they're unfortunately going to, or when they bring the X-Men in,
or Fantastic Four.
There's going to be a little bit of a feeling of repetition. Or they're going to retire a character that you're not going to really see anymore because they have these characters.
That's real true.
I think that people don't want to admit to it. I think they have some fatigue there. Not me. Keep giving that to me.
Like I said, I'm
shovel that in my mouth.
I'm real glad for the content.
Like even Marvel Girl. No, is it No, Miss Marvel's coming out. And I'll watch it, but I have a feeling that I'm not going to really like that show. Why? Because I'm not a 15-year-old girl. And I feel like the show is going to really be very young. I just feel like I saw the trailer for it, and I have a feeling that this one, you're going to see a lot of these dudes are going to trash the show. And it's going to be, you know why? Because it's not for you.
That's
not everything they make is for you. That's right. I'm talking to you, Joseph.
Well, that is real true. I mean, and especially when you're trying to build like an empire of sorts, or like in a perfect world, you will have good entry points for a lot of different people. You should have parts of the Marvel universe that are accessible to younger people.
Right. And they, you know what? Paul Rudd is in his 50s. We could all claim that he looks young, but you know what? 5-10 years, it's gonna be a little harder when his face is all puffed because he got that weird plastic surgery to stay young. He's got that weird, he looks like Rocky Dennis all of a sudden.
Or when like his cleaning person damages that painting, and then
shit. And Florence is gonna turn to dust.
So we know how that ends.
That tragedy of Paul Rudd, written by what was it, Edgar Allan Poe, or
Oscar Wilde?
Oscar Wilde wrote the tragedy of Paul Rudd. But like Robert Downey Jr. knew when it was time to leave. He's like, listen, you know what? I'm like getting older. It's gonna like, and we have to have younger people. And I just think like a lot of these dudes that watch, and the thing is like, even though they've been making Marvel movies for decades, the real Marvel universe started in 2008. With Iron Man. But I mean, that's already almost 15 years ago.
It's crazy.
Next year, it'll be 15 years ago. And people age. And the problem is comics don't. You can do whatever you want. You can rebrand them. I remember I was reading Cable. I always liked the Cable comp. Cable was like this character from X-Men. Very confusing character. And I remember really being into it. And I liked that he was kind of like a Nick Fury type character in the X-Men universe.
And then one day they decided, oh no, he's not an old man. He's 35.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? He's got white hair. He got wrinkles. I'm like, dude's like in his 50s. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
It's like, no, we gotta make him younger because, like, you know.
Right.
Yeah. But you can do that in comics. Can't really do that in the movies. People start to get annoyed.
Right. They'll want a reason. Like what happened?
Yeah, you have to like explain too much. You have to over-explain it. And I love it. People don't want to admit to that. They don't want to admit the fact that comics, you can get away with murder, literally. You can flip the script, you can change the story, you can change the costume, you can do whatever you want. You can have the same fucking battle over and over every month, and people don't complain. Movies and TV can't fucking do that.
Yeah.
You can't fucking do that. And I think there's just gonna be this Marvel fatigue. Last thing. I was like in some like comic forum, and this guy, once in a while, somebody like a chud will try to come through. Sure. And he's like attacking DC putting out this Pride comic book. Like,
the
lesbian Pride comic book with their characters. Of course, he's trashing all these dudes. Some of these assholes are trashing. And I'm like, you know what? This is not for you.
Right.
Don't buy it.
Yeah.
It's just a special. Like, it was just a special. It's not like all of a sudden you're reading Batman.
Right.
And now they're doing that.
This is Batman's new sidekick that's going to be in every episode or every issue.
This is literally just a one shot.
Yeah.
And guess what? It's not for you. Or are you nervous? Like, you going to go buy it? You curious? You know? Does it scare you? Like, it's not for you. You're not the market. It's a publishing company. They make lots of different things. It's kind of funny, actually. A lot of these publishing companies, because I go back and I buy like old comic books and I'll look through like the bins and I'll see Marvel and DC, man, they used to put out way more shit back in the day.
Yeah.
They had romance comics, comics like sports.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They had like their attempt at the funnies.
Yeah.
And I'd never even heard of this shit. Stuff from like early 70s. I'm like looking at it, like Wilbur. I'm like, what the fuck is Wilbur? I don't remember Wilbur.
When I was a kid, my parents, as my allowance, would let me go and get my allowance in comic books.
And when you were that age, they were only 10 cents each.
They were a quarter each. If I remember right, they were a quarter each.
Quarterback. I mean, you're talking like 74.
Yeah. I mean, I was a real young kid. I still lived up in New Jersey. I was in like first grade, maybe. So yeah, it was like 74 or whatever. And you could get 4 comics for $1, like regular issues. And then like every once in a while, they'd bust out the big, thick, double-sized issues for 50 cents. It was like that for years before they went up to 35 cents. And
that changed everything.
I used to buy like all sorts of random bullshit because I'd go there and there'd be a rack in the 7-Eleven and I'd get like, a Batman, a Flash, maybe, a Shazam or something, and then a random book, one that, and like so many of those were like just so
goobers.
They're just weird.
Mostly.
I think they Beetle Bailey had a book for a while, I think, and like just like random.
Oh man, what is Beetle Bailey up to now this time?
Sexually harassing Miss Buxley over and over again.
Great name. I don't know what they're implying.
So yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
It's like that Beetle Bailey's like kind of just like a stoner.
Yeah, he was like the Maynard G. Krebs of the army. He was like
that no good sergeant that was just trying to do his job right.
Yeah, Sergeant Snorkel. Yeah. Well, anyway, all right. So that's we can move on to Severance now, I suppose.
What are you talking about? We're going to talk about Miss Buxley and Beetle Bailey.
The Wizard of Id.
The Wizard of Id. Yeah. Lockhorns. Yeah. What was the one comic where the guy was like a spousal abuser?
Archie. No. Andy Cap.
Handicap, yeah. I remember like he was some drunk. I think his wife hit him with a frying pan or something.
Yeah, Flo.
I just remember though, like Andy Cap hot fries.
Hot fries, yeah, they were good.
Put Andy Cap on them.
Yeah, I think wasn't Homer? Didn't Homer Simpson like? Wasn't that an episode of The Simpsons where he was reading the comics? He's like, "Oh, Andy Cap, you like spousal abusing."
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Well, all right. So
speaking of spousal abusing.
Yeah. Well, the last episode of Severance aired Friday. You and I both watched it for Thursday. Was it Thursday it came out? Came out early, I think. Anyway, we watched
it came out early. I mean, it came out a day earlier, last week. Yeah.
And it was amazing. That was like kind of a rare TV show where I thought every episode was pretty perfect in every way. I can't
better than Moon Knight.
I honestly I can't think of anything I wowould change or had any criticisms of Severance. I mean,
the only thing I would criticize is that I would like to know more.
Yeah, well, yeah. It was just so pitch perfect, you know. I mean, like every.
So we talked about it, the series last week.
Yes.
We didn't have last episode, so we can go back. I was right.
Yeah.
About how, but not 100%. I just said she was an important person. I didn't think she was going to be the daughter. I thought all those people were dead or they were like made up. Remember they showed like the wax sculpture, but then you get to see him, the Lumen guy, her dad, right. And he's alive, you know, and it was revealed that she's like the daughter. Mm-hmm. My theory was that she is secretly repulsed by it. That's why she wants to kill herself. I saw theories that she is against it. She is outright against it, but she did it to appease her dad or whatever,
right?
As a favor or whatever. And the theory is that like she went there really undercover to destroy it.
Yeah, to undermine it.
And that she was going to reveal it anyway, that it was bad. Because the thing about the Severance thing, it's crazy, is they have more insidious. It's not just going to be used in this company. There's more insidious to it. I mean, it's kind of funny. It is like a Black Mirror thing where it's kind of like parable or goes on like what's going on in the real world.
Yeah.
I mean, you can almost say that like the Severance thing, it's like, yeah, they do this thing for this office, but they have grander plans where they're going to use the Severance for other things. Like you find out that the pro Severance senator wife gave birth, and that she literally outsourced her pregnancy or her major labor part to a Severance. It's like she literally outsourced herself. It's the weirdest thing.
She like created a part of herself to experience that and then killed that part of herself.
It's weird how you like it allows you to create an underclass within yourself.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what that is. It's a literal underclass of
you exploit. It's just so crazy. I mean, it works as a great sci-fi show. I mean, like you don't have to think hard to enjoy it if you don't want to, but there's so much there that talks about class and work and labor and capitalism.
It's bizarre because it's like you have Christopher Walken one of the last episodes when his character was retiring, and the Christopher Walken character and the real world giving it, and it's like he gave a shit.
No,
it's
he didn't
really
care.
Odd. The one thing is like I don't think I could ever do a Severance thing because I would just think about all day what the fuck I was doing in there.
Yeah, me too.
Wouldn't you? Like you have to have a specific like. Wouldn't you think like? Unless they do something that makes you not think, like when you go through the elevator, you just don't care. Like they give you some kind of like opiate or something that makes you like.
Well, especially because sometimes they come home with bruises or they come home with like, you know, like inexplicable things, you know, I mean, like, that takes a little suspension of disbelief for sure.
I would think about all fucking day. I wouldn't be able to remove myself and be like, oh wait, I get to kind of like not really work. I just send myself in there and then I come out 8 hours later, not even like well rested, I guess, not even or whatever. And like, I don't know, like what if like your Severance is eating like shit?
Yeah.
You're like, crazy. I'm trying to lose weight, but 8 hours a day, this guy's snacking all day.
No, because they limit what they can eat. Remember, you get to choose two.
Oh yeah, that's right.
2 snacks from the vending machine.
Yeah. So
and they all suck. It's like gingered raisins and like.
That's not bad. Maybe though, if that's all you're eating, that sucks. So there's some other fun. I watched some like theory things. So one of the big things in that episode is there's the reading party for his brother-in-law's book. And I forgot. I meant to talk about it last week. I don't know if we talked about it. Maybe tell me, but like the book makes it into the building, and the people read it, and because these versions of themselves they're like babies. They're children in a way, like you said. Like Dylan acts like a child. Like
he bites when he's mad.
He bites, and like everything is all like, but it's all reward based. It's like, and they're basically playing a video game all day, like the work they're doing. So like, but they get this book makes it in, and it's so profound to them. It's like this thought, like, and it's just a cheesy book. There's like nothing new really in it, and it's funny because the Mark in the
real world
this cat. I gotta say something new. Since we're moving here, this cat is going crazy. He keeps trying to break into the bedroom.
Huh.
My wife is sleeping right now. I'm in the office.
Yeah.
And every night this fucking cat knocks on a door. He sometimes gets in. He like breaks in somehow, and he just sits on my wife's head.
Oh, jeez.
He's like killing me. Like I hate him. I want to kill him. Yeah, I don't care how adorable he is. How fluffy and mushy and funny he is. I don't care. He's a bastard. He's killing me.
Cats are dicks. They are.
Cats? Or why do people have cats?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question.
That's a good question. It's like they basically tell you every day, like, I'm not really a pet.
Yeah.
The dogs are like, you know, and they were like,
yeah.
But like cats, like, I'm gonna do what I fucking want right now.
Right.
And I'm gonna sit on you, and you're gonna pet me. But then I might bite you.
Yeah, for sure.
Tell you I'm leaving now. Only somebody had the funniest tweet the other day. It said that like cats would totally do pyramid schemes and dogs would fall for it.
Yeah.
That is 100% true.
That is true.
Buddy is trying to sell me these NFTs, which, you know, Buddy, cats are like the Audi and dogs are the English.
Yeah. Well, it
Bring
is
it back to the show.
Yeah, it is real. It was just such a perfect show. And they set up a season 2 nicely.
Oh, there's a big cliffhanger in the end. But like there's other things though that I saw this theory thing or whatever, it was like on Screen Crush, whatever. But basically, there's people at these book reading. And you saw them in other episodes, like Becky, and I forgot the guy's name. They act really weird.
They're very weird.
They're very like, they're almost like the people in The Office. The way they react to the book. Like when they're sitting around talking about World War II, and the guy's like, didn't realize like, oh, there would be a World War One.
Right.
Like it wasn't called World War One because there wasn't a World War II. Like there's like remember when he thought the baby was taken?
Yeah.
And the guy's like, I'm the one that found it. I'm the one that found it. Which there's people who do that kind of stuff. But I think they were trying to point out that these people on the outside actually are the severed personality. Their severed personality took over or whatever, and that's why they're like they flock to this book because like they're like kids. They don't really know much. They don't have enough like experiences.
It does seem it seems noticeable enough that the people making the show want us to know that. You know, they want us to think,
well, they're showing
these people are weird.
A little off. Now there's people like that, especially.
But there's a lot of them like that in the show. It's like, it's not like one character. There's that one woman who changes her name to like Rebecca.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And then there's the guy who found the baby, and then there's a couple. I mean, there's enough of them, so it's like, okay, all these people are interested in Rickon's really shitty book, and they take it real seriously. And B, they talk unusual and they act unusual. So yeah, it does seem like they are.
The brother-in-law, like the guy who wrote the book, when he talks to Mark and the Mark personality took over.
Yeah.
The severed Mark personality. He wanted to talk about how the book was, how good it is.
Right.
The guy's like, "Are you fucking with me?" Because Mark was like a college professor before
he taught history. Yeah.
Yeah. And you learned some other things. You did learn some stuff about the wife. You find out in the 7th episode, or ninth, what was it, 8th episode? I guess so many episodes, 9? I don't know. The big cliffhanger, the second to last episode, was the ripped up photo, and you found out that woman in the photo, his wife, is the therapist.
Yes.
In Lumen. You find out though in the 8th episode that she's being fired and basically being like terminated, and that she says like she's only been alive for like 110 hours.
Yeah, something like that.
She was telling her like the best day she had was when she got to watch Helly for 8 hours. That's like the longest she was alive too. Like, and the theories going around is that his wife is dead.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Because she goes off to the where I guess the people go to die, or when they retire their personality. Mm-hmm. It's a little confusing about that. Like, she's not a zombie. Like,
have you heard that theory?
In a coma? Maybe she's brain dead. Like, what?
Have you heard that theory that Mark was driving the car that killed his wife?
Well, I thought that was implied because Helly says something.
Yeah, so don't.
You do see the Audi version of Helly. It's kind of funny her name's Helly because they're in hell.
Yeah.
You see the outer version of Helen, I guess.
Yeah.
In the first episode, and she makes a comment to Mark saying, like, "Be careful, it's icy."
See, I always thought that it was like a single drive, like she just ran off the road and got killed herself. I didn't realize that Mark was.
Well, they also Mark's innie was sculpting the tree that supposedly in that one therapy session he was sculpting the tree.
Yeah.
That the car wrapped around.
Right there.
Yeah. Right. So that's what I said. There's like that whole subconscious, like how
it's leaking through.
Irv with the painting, literally leaking in the painting, but how the imagery, like you said, that Irv's probably have had the John Turturro character, that he's probably had multiple innies, like he's had that, so he subconsciously seen that whole way where the innie personality expires and it was replaced by a new one, because he worked for the company for like 9 years or something like that.
Yeah.
And he was in this one department for 2 or 3 years or something.
It's weird. And in the finale, you get the feeling that Irv, the outie Irv, knows a lot about what goes on inside. That maybe he's retaining some memories or.
Well, so the big cliffhanger in the end of the second to last episode also is Dylan stays behind and holds the 2 switches so that the outer personality, the inner personality, is on the outside. And it was great. Like, Mark's character doesn't know where anything is. They're in his office, and now he's at this party, and he has to kind of pretend like he doesn't really, like, he thinks that he's not sure if that woman is his wife, or he finds out it's his sister. He doesn't know.
Yeah.
He has no idea. And that's what's so crazy about it. And then Irv's just home, I guess, right? He was just home.
Yeah.
And then Helen at the party, which is where it's revealed that she's the head of it.
Heiress or something.
There's that. Yeah, it's almost like the Walton family, Walmart family. Very similar vibes to that. And then there's the whole, like I said, the senator's wife, and she doesn't remember anything to do with like the pregnancy or something. Yep. And it's implied basically that, she used the severance. Like I said, it's so weird that they're they're literally outsourcing yourself. It's such an odd, like, you're literally creating an underclass within your own body. It's bizarre. And they're also showing that Lumen they're gonna probably try to sell this to the military. This is a great way to like get people so you don't have PTSD, but you also get soldiers that don't question anything either. You know, that don't go away, that really won't question anything.
That was basically the plot of that show, the podcast, and then the show Homecoming.
I remember that. Yeah, that was a good show where they basically, there was that drug where everyone forgets everything. Yeah. And then at the end of the second season, like, they show everyone in the company literally forgot. Yeah. They don't have any memories. That was good. Well, I think it was solid. Like the first season.
Yep. Yeah, the podcast itself was great.
I don't know if they're gonna make a third season. They took some time between those first two, so I don't know. COVID kind of like slowed the shit down on things. Like Barry's finally coming out. It's like Barry,
right.
Season 3. It's like I feel like the last one came out like 3 years ago. But well, what else was there? And so, go ahead. What
this show? I mean, like, there's so much here, and like, I don't want to say, oh, it's like this show and it's like that show, because Severance is really original. It's not like it's copying any of these shows, but it seems like that you definitely see parts of, like, actually both Jordan Peele's Us and Get Out are kind of both in here.
Yeah, there's definitely like a lot of vibes to that, but like the herb thing too is interesting because it's like they imply that, like, well, one, I got a little confused. I realized, like, oh yeah, that's just like his dad was in the army.
Right.
Look, that's his dad was in World War II and he was looking through his stuff. But I think they also implied that he might have been in the military as well.
I think he was. Yeah,
some medals, and like those might have been his medals and not. And it was also kind of interesting too because it's like the innies, when they're there, they're told, like, if they do good or something like that that character, what you find out is Mark's wife, really, she will reveal things about the Audi.
Yeah.
And it's very, they romanticize things about the Audi, or they outright lie. And they feel like, oh, my Audi is this. It's like a very important person. And the Earth one was like, he's just some guy, clearly lives alone, has an old dog, probably keeps to himself, doesn't really, and there is a funny line though. I was like looking back. There's a part where she says you're good with like radar, and then you find out that's the name of the dog.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
But
they don't say radar's a dog. You find out later when he looks at the tag and it says radar.
Yeah.
He's good with radar. The dog. Well, he's good with it.
That's another example. Like every line in this show is like intentional. There's no.
It is. It reminds me of like Breaking Bad. I thought Breaking Bad was one of those great shows where, like, I mean, there's some dumb shit with like the wife and that guy, like there. I always say that's like that's the only time they did something like a little too much, like. But the show is super tight. Like it had everything worked together. Now I'm sure if you went back and looked, there's some flaws, and I'm sure again if this show's on for a couple of years, there'll be some flaws.
Yeah.
But as a one season, it is like a perfect season.
Yeah, it really is.
It is like my only fear about this show now, because it's a hit.
Yeah.
Or a hit for Apple or whatever.
Sure.
I mean, critically, and people are very excited about it.
I heard that for the season finale, nearly 400 people watched it. I mean,
which is gangbusters because only usually 25 people watch on Apple. I don't know what Apple TVs. I think people don't realize like it's a thing.
Yeah, well,
that's a problem with these things. Like everyone knows what Netflix is. We kind of know what Disney Plus is. We kind of know what Amazon Prime is.
Right, but like Paramount or
like Hulu.
Apple,
people know what Hulu. It's been around a long time, but like. You start getting into like these, and then it's like Apple TV. You're like, is that a thing? Like, is it confusing?
Well, I think some people just assume it's like a Roku device, not necessarily original programming. But what was your fear with this?
My fear is that because it's to do well, that they're gonna drag it out and they're not gonna explain certain shit. And it's like, you know what? No, what? I'm sorry. Next season, just explain anything about the wife.
Yeah.
Don't let that drag around. Explain it. I'd rather that can explain, and then they can expand on the whole sequence and introduce new characters and introduce. I want them to explain shit. This is my theory. I have a theory on Dylan.
Yeah.
How he ended up in there, because you don't see his out. You only saw his outie for that 1 second.
Right.
The guy, I forgot his name. The guy who's like the liaison person.
Yeah.
You find out he has kids, and then you find out later that he has actually 2 more kids.
Right.
My theory is that you find out that he was like an overworked dad and he was never home. He probably brought the work home. He was probably mean to his kids and all this stuff. And they talked, and that's why they agreed, like, do the severance thing. This is going to be the best thing to happen to you.
Yeah.
You won't bring your work home. You'll still be able to provide for your family. You come home, you get to be, and then when you're home, you get to be this great dad.
Right.
And like, that's my theory about that. Like, he was just some guy who's like an overworked jerk.
Yeah,
never around.
that could be.
Yeah,
that could be. My fear with the second season is that they will reset everything, and you know what I mean.
Oh, like all the personalities because they could do that. They could totally reset them.
Right, like Mark would wake up on the table, and it would be him instead of Helly. You know what I mean? Like, and that would be frustrating. Or maybe it'd be great because like this is like the show we're going to talk about next. This is a show where if you just explain to me the premise, I'd be like, yeah, it sounds clever, but like I don't know that I'd be thrilled about it. And it turns out this is probably my favorite show in recent memory. It's a really great show.
Other great things, details picked up. The what's the guy's name? The liaison guy.
Is it Melchek? Is it?
Yeah,
Melchek?
I think so.
Yeah.
He's always taking photos all the time.
Yeah.
Getting him to smile, and then you find out because there's this big party, and they want to show how great Severance is, and they show her smiling in pictures or trying to have parties all the time, more than normal, because they planned on promoting
Severance. There's something for everyone.
Yeah. And like when she's talking and she's like, I like to see Helly as my sister.
Yeah.
Like, so weird. And it's like, again, that's like the craziest part of the show is that like just the idea of like, because outsourcing is a real thing.
Right.
There's an underclass, and that's a real thing in our society. But everyone gets to kind of be their own little outsource machine.
Yeah.
Everyone goes, let's like the thing I had like with issues with like NFTs and stuff like that. So I can remember what's his face had a great, I don't know, it was like the guy from who said it? I'm trying to think, it wasn't the guy. I'm trying to think of what musician came out against them. And he said that it's like artists, like little capitalist machines and like little like polluters and like
you're right. There was someone recently, and I forget who it was.
It wasn't like the guy from what's his face Boingo, was it?
I don't think so. I want to say it was like a guy from Pink Floyd or something, like Roger Waters. I don't know. It was someone.
Yeah, he had a good point.
Yeah.
Before we get into Moon Knight, though, did you see? This is probably one of the greatest things because we've talked about it. I can't fucking stand them. I hate NFT.
Yeah.
They're a fucking abomination. On Jack Dorsey's first tweet, NFT went on sale for $48 million.
Wow.
Oh, hold on. It ended with a top bid of just $280.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah. Crypto entrepreneur Sina Estavi bought Twitter founder Jack Dorsey's first ever tweet as an NFT for $2.9 million last year. I remember that. That's when you were like, Ryan sold $6 million. Like, this was like people sold
right.
$6 million. It was like all this bullshit. He listed the NFT for sale again at $48 million last week. And the top bid was $280.
Nice. Classic.
That's a sign of a healthy market, right?
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Yeah.
I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
Moon Knight. Oh no, we talked about
For All Mankind.
For All Mankind.
That is another Apple TV show.
For All Mankind. Yeah, you brought this up. You said this was a really good show. I started watching it. I'm almost done with the first season.
Mm-hmm.
For All Mankind is a show on Apple TV, which is a real app.
Yeah.
You can, if you have a smart TV, you can probably download it. If you have an Apple product, you probably get it free for a little bit if you just bought one.
And it's only like $5 a month. I mean, it's one of the cheaper streaming services.
Well, they only have so much content. I
True.
mean, like once I'm done with For All Mankind.
Oh, you got to get on Schmigadoon.
Yeah, I don't know if I give a crap about Schmigadoon. I can live without seeing Schmigadoon. I'm seeing them on lots of things.
Yeah.
This show is great. It's from the guy who did Battlestar Galactica.
Yep.
Hey, I just want to make sure, I don't want losing it. Did we tell everybody what we were going to talk about this week?
Yes, we did at the very beginning. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make
After
sure.
Gilbert Gottfried.
We went over it before me and him before we talked about it. I know we started about Gilbert Gottfried. Okay, so For All Mankind, is this amazing show about like it's a kind of like a what if series.
Yeah.
A real world what if series. So basically, supposedly we went to the moon. So the beginning of the show has a great stinger where it's about the moon landing, and then all of a sudden a guy lands on the moon, but he's speaking Russian.
Yeah.
And he's talking about this is for like Marxism, this is for this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you find out that basically the United States blew it and that Russia got to the moon first.
Yeah. It's a bunch of like
what?
It's like a bunch of astronauts at a bar in Houston watching
this. You find out that those guys were supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And then the whole episode, it just changes everything.
Yeah.
Now the United States is like freaking out. They're like, if we're gonna be this world power, right, like that, we can't have Russia, especially with communism and all that stuff. But it just shows like it's almost like a game changer. Now I haven't seen the second season and there's a third season coming out, but from what I'm watching, there's almost like from a progressive movement, it works out in that favor, because the space program had a lot to do with like you said, it was like big government programs. It elevated a lot of people. It helped the in real world, it helped the equal rights. It helped with science and technology. And we don't really have that anymore. There's still NASA and stuff like that, but we kind of allowed like SpaceX to kind of take over. We allowed like Jeff Bezos's dick ships to go off in space.
It's like we got Tang, and then they were like, "That's a wrap." We
got Tang, dude. We did it.
We did it. We've powdered oranges, so no need to.
What else is there? Clearly, this was the final frontier.
This is the Grail.
I haven't had Tang in years.
It holds up well. This is another show
where
like
bottle from the early 80s. Yeah, if doesn't age.
If you explained to me this show, when I read about the show, I was real excited. A new Ronald Moore series. I loved all his previous stuff. I read the synopsis and I was like, I don't know if this is going to be good. It didn't sound good, but it's amazing. It's so good. And the so much work went into, like, they drive the cars of the day, the housing. And,
it's very well done in that, like, it doesn't look cheap.
All the government buildings look like 1970s government buildings. And it's just great. And they weave in archival footage.
Yep. And it's done in a way that when you're done watching a show, you feel like it all happened. And it's depressing because none of this happened. So because Russia gets there first, it just changes the entire course of the United States history. It just repels us socially, economically. There's like so much more opportunity in there. It pushes the women's movement, because in the end of like the first or second episode, it's revealed so the first episode involves getting America to the moon. Yeah. And they do it. They have like a really hard time. They almost die. They get them there, and they land. But then shortly after they land, Russia sends
a woman to space.
Well, that's the big reveal, is a helmet opens and it's a woman. And everyone's like, oh shit, now we have to have a woman in space. And it just changes everything, because it's like, you see like women in America, even though she's this dirty commie, this isn't Putin's Russia, first of all. This is pre, Berlin Wall. And the women are like, this is like a great moment for women. I mean, like, and now the United States has to, and it just like all the sexism involved and everything, and it just elevates and changes everything, and like changes history. The Vietnam War ends because they needed to take that money and put the resources to elevate the space program. Yeah, it's all of a sudden they were like, well, this was a stupid war anyway.
It is crazy. And then
go ahead.
I mean, like, it's not. I mean, it is science fiction, but like, it's not like all of a sudden, like, oh, we have laser guns, right? It's also grounded in what really could have happened. I think that's what you're talking about. It feels so real.
It elevates, but it's not like stupid. They're not like, they're not like have laser guns or anything like that. Like they develop a moon base. Spoilers. They develop a moon base.
Yeah.
Like in 1974.
But it's a very small one. It's kind of janky. It's, I mean, like it's what you would imagine a moon base would have looked like.
Right.
You know.
But the fact is that it's there.
But it's there.
The moon, and they live by the moon, and they go to an area of the moon that I don't even think we have ever actually even been to.
Right.
And that's where like they send the first woman, and the woman is you find out these are based on real people supposedly, and this woman is based on a real astronaut. And I guess that woman who dies was based on a real woman that died. Like history and everything like that. How she died might have been different, but I think this woman supposedly died from a space test or like a test flight or whatever. They were people that were there was a bunch of women in the space program in like the early 60s that got sidelined, and supposedly it had a lot to do with like, I don't know, it was like John Glenn or something. It was like a huge sexist, like a real misogynist. Was it John Glenn or was it
I don't know, but I mean, I'll believe that.
They bring it up. They said like really got sidelined by but there was these women astronauts, and they get elevated, like they were like out of service for like 10 years, and because Russia sent a woman for, you know, they were like, now they brought them back and they put these other new women in. There's like one of the astronauts has a wife who like, there's a lot of, I'm not going to go into all those details, but
I mean, there are soapy elements to it, but they're like
it's still a TV show.
But they're done well, and
it's done well. Everyone's really good in it. I'm trying to think like anyone. The guy who leads it, I've seen that guy in True Blood. He's been in tons of shows.
Well, he was in Suicide Squad.
No, no. You're thinking of the guy who goes in the moon base is the guy from Suicide. He's Rick Flag, and he was also in the failed RoboCop reboot.
Oh yeah.
He's good. I mean, he's great in stuff I've seen him in. I'm talking about like the guy who's like runs it, one of the leads.
Oh yeah.
He's from like True Blood, the balding guy.
Yeah, the
older guy. He ends up going to space later anyway. Right. It just changed. It just like everyone now's got a chance to go to the moon. Everyone's like, there's all this expansion now. They're like, we have to have a base before the Russians do. And it's funny because it's like there's that military aspect, but there's also like that aspect of like discovery, and like they talk about that too. But like, there's a scientist, Operation Paperclip, which is a bunch of Nazi scientists were brought in. They bring it up. The guy lived in Alabama. Wasn't there like in history a town in Alabama where all these Nazis lived, ex-Nazis lived, like literally, and this guy lived there, but there's this woman that he like mentors, and you find, you know, he's like, listen, I'm a scientist, you know, he tried to like downplay his he wasn't killing people in the camp, but like, hey dude, you're still associated, you know, you can't there's all the politics, like, because Chappaquiddick doesn't happen because there's another incident in history. So Ted Kennedy doesn't attend this party in Chappaquiddick. So that means he doesn't, there's that woman that
Mary Jo Kopechne.
She doesn't get killed.
Yep.
He gets to run for president and he clobbers Nixon.
Yeah.
And this is a great thing too, because I guess Nixon still tried to steal from him. Nixon is removed from office as well. And Kennedy tells him, I'm gonna pardon you. And Richard Nixon's like, you're gonna pardon me, you piece of shit, I'll kill you. Ted Kennedy's like, all right, I'm gonna pardon you.
Yeah. It's just
you fucking piece of shit, I will kill you.
It is so great. Like
your brother.
when you're watching it, or when I was watching it, like some things like Ted Kennedy becoming president, clearly you know immediately, like, oh yeah, that never happened, but that is an interesting.
Yeah, they're pushing in another equal rights bill. Like,
but some of the stuff I had to go back and like, well, did that happen? Because there's enough in there that really did happen. And
well, Ted Kennedy never became president.
Well, right, but there's enough stuff in there where, like, yeah, some of this did happen.
But if Chappaquiddick didn't happen, he probably would have been president.
True, yeah. And then the further, now I've seen season 2, and the further into, but the further into it you get, I mean, again, it's still real grounded, but like you start to see exponentially how all these changes play out, which is real interesting.
Well, me and you talked about we talked a little about the show before we started doing the podcast episode. And I brought up, like, you see the competition in a way between the Soviets and the United States, and like trying to outdo each other. And you had that, and then up till like the Berlin Wall falling, the Soviet Union crumbling, United States didn't really have that competition anymore.
Right.
Because you don't have that competition, start to you need that competition. That's what drives everything. And I was bringing up the wrestling analogy.
Yeah.
I remember back in the late 90s, friends would watch WWF and WCW Monday Night Wars because they literally were like, it was their competition. And then eventually WCW failed. Vince McMahon bought them, and wrestling went downhill fast because it didn't have that competition, that drive. And I think the United States, I mean, what do we have now?
Right.
We just have we have billionaires that we gave up on the space program in a way. I mean, there's still a NASA, but like a lot of it's been like
it's been gutted.
It's been gutted, and it seems like
they say
said Reagan had a lot to do with it.
Yeah, Reagan and the loss of the Soviet Union as a competitor, and then the Challenger. I think the Challenger disaster took the appetite away from a lot of people.
It's just interesting that the United States gets to the moon. We go there, I guess, a couple of times, and we never do anything with it. And it's like, it's funny that because the Russians go there first, it drives everything, and it makes everyone like, well, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to have a base. And they're like, well, we have to have a base, but have a source of water of some kind. They find the water. That's why they're able to get the base going. Yeah. But like, it's just crazy that that's what it took. Yeah. And because Russia gets there first in this alternate reality, women's movement, or the women equal rights. For people, there's like, they talk about like there's this gay people in it, and they have to hide. You still have that element. There's like progress doesn't happen.
Oh yeah, it's not a utopia. I mean, there's still bullshit, but
you see like a little bit of a kick in the ass, and like now I haven't watched the second season. I don't really want you to spoil it, but is there a president Reagan?
Well, I don't want to get into the like all the specifics of it. Reagan does appear. It's interesting. Like the first, I was trying to explain it, and I still can't get I can't explain it real well, but time jumps in this like pretty wildly. Like some episodes are just like set over the course of a couple days, and some it's like 3 months later, or like the next year, or it's like a weird. And
the first 7 episodes I watched, I think it's like a 5-year span, 6-year span.
Yeah,
it's interesting too because they have like the side plot going. It's like a slow burn, because when they show like the moon landing, they also show these migrants.
Yeah, a Mexican family crossing the border.
Yeah, and it shows that. And then you find out like the guy becomes a janitor working at NASA, and he has this really intelligent daughter who's involved with math and all that. And she's there, and it's kind of like the slow background thing, but they're starting to bring her in. I think she's like a teenager now at this point. There's a lot of great. It's such a good show.
Season 1 is like late 60s, 70s. Season 2 is mostly the 80s, and season 3 is mostly the 90s. No, 3 comes out in June of this year. They said that they had a definite arc. They planned out the show already, and if they get their way, it's going to run 5 seasons, and each season's going to cover roughly a decade, which would mean that it will end kind of where we are. You know what I mean?
It's crazy because it's like I said, it's just like from what I'm seeing so far, when I'm only up to, like I said, the mid 70s. You just see society moving in a different direction, but there's still some things like then they're on the moon base, and like that's actually a really funny part. The astronauts that live on the moon base. Oh, there's like a catastrophe that happens on Earth or whatever, so it delays these people stuck on the moon base. They were supposed to. Something happened, and then you find out it's all politics of why there was a failure on the ship. At first they're like, "Is it the Russians?"
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's politics. It literally, it was you find out there's vendors all over the country based on congressmen and all that, all the deals. That's why manufacturers all over every state gets a piece of the pie, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them was to get Ted Kennedy get elected. You find out that there's this Republican that endorsed him, but he endorsed him because a factory moved there. But that factory did not produce the item right the way the other factory did it. And because of that, the ship exploded.
Yeah. It's a great show.
It shows that element is still there. Like that element will probably still be there. But it's just crazy to watch this like what if type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like what it would mean. I mean, imagine like a woman finding ice on the moon.
Yeah.
That would change. You would not see guys like Greg Abbott, DeSantis, Kentucky, what happened in Oklahoma. They wouldn't be able to like put out these archaic women's it would be harder for them to do that. The conversation would have changed. The conversation would change. Go ahead. What?
It is weird. Like there is and we talked about this previously, like this show in a lot of ways is like the Republicans' nightmare because it shows like what good government institutions, what strong government institutions can do. And part of that is getting us to the moon and exploring space. And that is like the antithesis of a lot of Republicans' viewpoint, which is that A, we should dismantle government, B, we shouldn't trust science, and C, there is no need to go anywhere else in the universe because God created Earth and Earth alone. You know,
I know there's that element, but I think the reality is the first one you said, which is
the government.
We don't want government to run things. Yes, there's the stupid not fringy, but the religious bullshit aspect, and that's for that's for the rubes, that's for the voter, that's to get the voters to vote for them.
It's for like
the reality is the first one. Don't want people to rely on government. But the joke is, if you look through history of the United States and everything, biggest technology happens during war, during big government programs, big things. They are the ones that do the research, they do the investigate. That's when it's the most expensive.
Right.
And then the private sector comes in and takes that and finds a way to make that profitable. They're like, thank you for all that research, and we're going to find a way to change it up and make it that we can profit off of it, and everyone's happy.
Yeah.
People forget that there's all the discovery usually happens because of government programs, and they don't want to admit to that. They know that's the truth. It's like the biggest joke. They want to take us back to the 50s. What? I would. Right. What you mean when there was like free college and there was like great benefits?
Yeah, there were definitely some admirable. Although there was some terrible social.
That's the part they want to take us back to.
That's the part.
But it's like, wait, are you saying, wait?
Do we get all of it? Do we get all?
Yeah, like, do we? Well, get rid of that terrible.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
In unions and everyone, like, what are you talking about here? Like, they want you to ignore that part, and that's what's great about the show. You're right. This show is like a total. That's why I was curious about the Reagan thing, because like you said, even like old school Republicans back in the day, they knew the importance of like government programs. They maybe not like wanted people, but they knew how to take advantage of it or whatever. And then, like you said, Reagan came in, and it's like, we're going to drown government in a bath.
Yeah, that was it. He was the famous one. Like, if the government says we're here to help, you're in trouble, or something like that. And like, no, that's
rips off the solar panels off the White House.
Yeah,
as like another bad faith thing.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I would definitely recommend For All Mankind. I loved every episode. The music is amazing.
Yeah. It's a great show. It's done in a really good way. It's done in a way like where obviously like it looks good. Like it's probably not the most it doesn't have to be the most expensive show. They do it in it's just edited well and like directed well. You feel like you're living it.
Yeah.
That's what's great. I mean, like you said, except for some of the stupid soapy elements, which don't really take over the show.
No, they're relatively minor. And
but they feed into the culture of the time. Like,
Yeah.
there is that, like, you know, the guy who's like has the housewife who he cheats on all the time, and then you find out the housewife is a pilot also.
Yeah.
Now there's opportunities for her to be an astronaut, and it's like like a great.
Yeah. I don't want to talk about it too much longer because I'm like on the verge of spoiling some great stuff about those characters in season 2.
Don't you dare.
But yeah, I would definitely give it a recommend. I mean, like, it's just a great show. I can't wait for season 3 to come out. I did hear Ronald Moore left the show.
Oh no.
He mapped him out, and he's going to stay on as like a consultant or whatever. But the showrunners are going to be people that have run the show for the first 2 seasons with him. I hope it holds up. It should.
Like the last season of Game of Thrones, where they don't have a book to rely on, so they're just like,
they're winging it
really quickly now. And
well, theoretically, if season 3 is the 90s and season 4 is the 2000,
I mean, at that point, that's why I'm curious about I haven't seen the second season. I'm glad you didn't spoil it. But at some point, it's going to be unrecognizable.
Right. That's the thing.
Divergent path that the United States and as the world takes. Like, I'm still in that first season. So you still see, we're still in that meeting point where, like, it hasn't completely diverted too far. Like, you see it and you're like, obviously Ted Kennedy was not president. But Ted Kennedy being president is clearly going to change everything. Just
if you see the previews for season 3, you'll know that we're already to a point where we haven't yet been.
So
you
it's
know
like,
what I mean? Like
Airplane 2, where they have a moon base in Airplane 2, like that kind of
yes, thing. Precisely. So,
but I mean, at some point, it's going to be like, it's going to almost be unrecognizable.
Yeah.
People have like silver suits and flying cars, but it's just not good. You're going to be dealing with people in a different way. The world dynamic is going to be different.
It'll be, I don't know. I'm curious because, like, if we're sinking all of our money into space exploration, then we're dialing back our money elsewhere. You know what I mean? Like,
well, like when they show like Nixon ending the Vietnam War and just showing what a joke it was, that it could have been ended in any time, because he wanted to divert the funds from that into the moon. Now, I don't know enough about it, so don't ruin it for me, but I'm assuming saying like schools suffer, or like, but I would also think that the technology and the information learned from NASA and learned from that would have a tailwind effect that would just change industry in general. And
like you get better cell phones earlier because they needed that. Like
one of the funniest things is, I mean, obviously VCRs, we're gonna wrap this up and go into like current actual reality. The joke is they only have 6 tapes.
Right.
They're on the phone. They have 6 tapes of Bob Newhart, and they watch them over and over. The joke is they start reenacting them. The VCR goes on the fritz. The tapes get ruined, and they start to lose their minds. Like, the only thing that keeps them sane. And the one guy gets space madness, which is kind of funny.
Gordo.
Yeah, he literally turns into Ren from that Ren Stimpy episode, Space Madness. The shiny red button. They're like, can you send more tapes? And they're like, Hollywood won't allow it because they don't want people to start like, it'll affect their advertising. And it just shows you that like all that bullshit red tape is really, like, VCRs probably existed, or VCR technology clearly existed for years, but it wasn't until like the late 70s, 80s came in.
Like 84, 85,
And a lot of it probably had to do with like profit and people not understanding there's a different way to make money, and all the way, it's like the same. That's the thing that holds back technology all the time. Is really true. Profit. It's like the reason why like we're slaves to oil still, because oil companies said there's still about 50 years or 40, 50 years worth of oil in the ground. That's a couple of $1 trillion that we're not gonna just We're not going to give up on that.
Yeah.
Did you hear? I wanted to bring this up, and this is super crazy. Well, so yeah, watch the show. It's awesome. If you like American history or world history, this is a great show. It might leave you a little depressed.
Yeah.
If you care about, unless you're like a lizard brain,
right,
whatever, then you'll be like, I hate this show. I hate the show because I see the what if in it.
Lost potential, yeah.
Right. But again, I'm also only in the first season. I don't know if it starts going in a bad direction in the second. So don't ruin anything.
Yeah, I won't.
Yeah, like it goes in a bad direction. So because of crypto, coal companies are actually seeing a new benefit.
Okay.
Because of all the burning.
Oh, geez.
To create the electricity for crypto mining. That supposedly coal mining there is a spike in that in some areas. And it's actually kind of funny because I could imagine that the owners are also heavily invested in crypto.
Yeah, probably.
But I thought I saw that the other day and I was like, wow, that is super crazy. So like, oh yeah, it's not bad for the environment. No, not at all.
No.
Did you hear too about we're going to talk about Abbott in a second. So we're going to talk about Abbott with him busing migrants, speaking of migrant.
Yeah.
To DC and also holding up the trucks at the border or something.
That's an interesting one, yeah.
DeSantis, some bullshit, Ben Shapiro, bozo incident. Right-wing Twitter. We talked about Elon Musk earlier. I do think that there's maybe was an effect of Elon Musk.
It could be, yeah.
Especially these past couple of weeks. Ghost guns.
Yeah.
And New York City shooting.
Yeah.
So Abbott, before I get into that, do you know that one of the biggest crypto mining is Texas?
I have heard that. Yeah.
That they were like kicked out of, like a lot of the mining was kicked out of like a country, and Texas said, "Come here, we'll take it."
Yeah.
Do you remember when when I was still living there, it got cold again for a couple of days?
Yeah.
It snowed and they're like shut down the state.
Right.
And everyone was afraid of the blackouts and everything happening.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
One of the things they did was they basically asked all the crypto miners to basically stop,
ease up for
days, so that the
power grid wouldn't fail.
Yeah. So I always thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I'm glad though, like, after watching a show like this of what could be in technology, like real technology, really improving, and also social changing, like true new heroes and like real progress of mankind or peoplekind, if you want to call it.
Sure.
And then we live in this digital hellscape where people are burning holes in the earth to make funny money,
picture money,
that they in the end goal is to still convert to fiat currency.
That is depressing. Greg Abbott,
speaking of good times,
is depressing. There were two things he did this week, and I don't know how well they're going to work out for him. I mean, one thing is he had this kind of publicity stunt where he bussed a bunch of migrants to Washington, D.C. I don't know how many people you can fit on a bus. I'm guessing like 50, maybe tops.
I mean, it depends how many buses you're sending too.
Yeah. I mean, maybe he's going to send a couple hundred. This doesn't seem like it's going to be, it just seems like purely
it's a stunt because that doesn't do anything. If you're saying that is a big problem, like, what's the point? This is a stunt. This is like that trucker bullshit, truck convoy bullshit that wasn't really about truck, rights for truckers, or like, it wasn't about the fact that like these guys work really hard and like get screwed over easily. It was just about like mask mandates, which were all lifted.
They're gone. There's like no place left with Yeah. Well, the weird thing is like this busing of people, that's been going on for like a long time. I mean, I remember there's been stories over the years of like essentially in a real low-key kind of way, often a big city, like I think Orlando used to do this, they'd arrest a bunch of homeless people for weird petty little crimes, and they'd put them in jail for the weekend, and then as part of their get out of jail stuff, they would give them like a fresh set of clothes and a bus ticket to like Los Angeles. You know what I mean? So basically, yeah, basically like that. And it wasn't like you need to, it wasn't as orchestrated as Greg Abbott's thing where it's like,
well, the Greg Abbott thing's a stunt because he's basically trying to say to Biden, you're failing us at the border. This is your problem now.
Right.
And these people, like, they're going along with it. The people who are going to bust, because one, they're in a precarious situation. The migrants, they're getting fed. They're getting clothes.
They might be able to get some jobs there. I mean, people
they
are hiring.
Not all of them want to stay in Texas anyway.
Yeah, so that's probably a lot of them want
providing a service for these people, which is hysterical. That's not what he intends on doing. He's trying to do pull some stunt and saying like, this is your problem now, Biden. But it's like, it's a waste of resources, Texas resources. It's a dick move. And I'm sorry, creepy. It's creepy.
Using people as props.
The border crisis that Republicans are trying to push is a lie.
Yeah. Well, the
massive lie. It's a massive lie.
The weirder one. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, like, I guarantee you, the majority of people that give him his biggest money, political wise, are also the same people that hire migrants.
Yeah, they rely on.
They rely on them, agriculture, meat packing. All kinds of services like that. So it's hypocritical. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
He's just feeding into the racist base and trying to create but I mean, that's just some sideshow bullshit.
Yeah, that is a stunt. The other stunt though, that's like a little more serious, is he is stopping trucks at the border. And basically he's saying that after they go through customs, through a federal inspection, he also wants each truck inspected by the Texas Department of Public Safety or something.
So this is holding up things, which means that stuff will not make it to the store shelves, which means things will be empty, prices will go up. And then he gets to go and blame, and him and the Republicans get to craft an argument and say, look, it's Biden's fault. Biden's failing the country.
Yeah.
In fact, he's the one fucking doing this. I could play this guy that I sent you.
That was interesting.
Interact with
this guy on. Hold on. Okay, his name is Paul Texas 890 on TikTok.
Yep.
But I found it from a guy named Walter Madison. He's the guy I tell you goes to like the anti-vax rallies. He was the one that went to. He does this shit where he goes to like Republicans. Like he went up. Like Republican, and he went to Marjorie Taylor Greene at Matt Gaetz, and he's like, I don't think you're. He tells Marjorie Taylor Greene, I don't think you're a weirdo or crazy. Matt Gaetz, I don't think you're a pedophile. You're not a pedophile, Matt Gaetz. It's like the funniest thing.
Yeah.
But he posted this clip. It's like almost 2 minutes, but I think it kind of sums it up.
Yeah. It was a good one.
Folks, you need to watch this video to the end, and you need to interact with it. You need to leave a comment. We need to boost this as much as possible. And this is your own warning. There's going to be cussing because I'm fucking mad as hell. I am telling you right now, Republicans are intentionally working to drive up inflation and intentionally working to cripple our supply chain. Right now, Governor Abbott here in the state of Texas is forcing the DPS, which is our version of the state troopers, to stop every single truck coming out of Mexico. Every single truck. And do a safety inspection on it. What they're doing is they're backing up shipping for dozens and dozens and dozens of miles. Normally, a Mexican driver will bring a truck over across the border. They'll drop it at a depot, and an American driver will pick it up and drive off. They usually do about 4 a day. They can't get one through. They can't get one fucking truck through. They're backed up for fucking miles. Why? Because they want to drive up inflation. think it's going to help them in the midterms. They want to cripple our fucking supply chains because they think it will help them in the fucking midterms. They're doing it on purpose to hurt you, your family, your wallet. This isn't being covered in the national media. All the national media wants to talk about is inflation. But they don't want to fucking talk about why it's fucking happening. You have to look at local Texas media, Houston, fucking El Paso,
This guy's cursing.
Laredo. Laredo's the largest land port in this country. And they've got it backed up so goddamn far you can't even see the end of the goddamn line. These are the sorriest motherfuckers in the world. Republicans are traitors. They don't give a shit who they hurt, who they fuck, just so long as they can get some power. I'm telling you people, vote blue in every election.
So, I mean,
well, they're saying a lot of those trucks are running out of gas.
We don't curse here on YSGOAT.
They're saying a lot of those trucks are running out of gas while waiting in line.
Oh yeah,
and
of course.
The food they're carrying spoils.
Because there's a lot of,
refrigerated trucks.
You go to the grocery store, guess what? A lot of agriculture stuff is grown in South America.
Yeah,
and that stuff doesn't last forever. So it's important that these trucks make it to where they need to go so they can give you fresh groceries.
Yeah, it is something. Greg Abbott's just like real trash.
He's a terrorist. He's a literal terrorist. I mean, he did nothing about the power grid in Texas.
No.
He did nothing about the attack on trans kids, the abortion thing with not just the insane abortion rule, but the incredibly cruel and dangerous bounty system.
Yeah.
Which is just bananas. Did you see that woman got arrested because she had a miscarriage?
Yeah, that was a weird story. I read there's a big article about that in the Washington Post that made it seem like a really complicated story. And some parts I think are fairly clearly bullshit. Like I think at this it's STARR, Starr County Memorial Hospital, I think there was a nurse that called in to the sheriff. And like, the nurse,
you have nothing else better to do, bitch. Right.
This nurse seems like garbage. I'd imagine this woman can sue her for an actual HIPAA violation. Anyway, that
not a Marjorie Taylor Greene HIPAA violation.
Yeah, that seemed pretty clear. However, this county is overwhelmingly Democratic. It's like they voted for Beto like 90% or whatever. I mean, and the district attorney in there is a super big Democrat, like a very progressive Democrat. And he's the one who brought charges against this woman. And
I guess he has to.
It was a weird thing. Like, I guess that's what I'm saying is that there is more to this one story than first met the eye. Because at first it seemed like a real easy one. Like, oh, this is the Texas law doing what the Texas law was supposed to do, which is to, fuck over women trying to seek reproductive health care. And I don't think that's exactly it. I think there's some clear bad guys in here, but I think some of the bad guys are not necessarily bad guys as much as they are. This is a unique situation.
Unfortunately, if you create a law, people who work in law have to follow it.
Well, that's the thing is that none of this would have happened if Texas hadn't had that bullshit law. That is true.
But the idea of arresting a woman for having a miscarriage, is so disgusting.
Well, that's always been the thing is like if you make abortion illegal, then at some point you can say like, hey, I saw a woman drinking a Bud Light while pregnant.
Yeah.
That's reckless endangerment or whatever.
She wasn't drinking a Bud Light, or she was drinking something else. I was like, I don't know, it was a bottle. I have no idea.
Well, then you get to the point where it's like, well, you are eating lunch meat and you're drinking coffee and you're 8 months pregnant. And is that reckless endangerment? That's where that goes, because it doesn't just stop with, you can't have an abortion after this number of weeks. Once they get that, then they go into the next thing, which is, well, really, you should be doing and it's just a total power grab over women's bodies.
It's such a disgusting too, because it's like anyone who claims they're libertarian and they're okay with this, they're not libertarians. Because true libertarians would be like, no, this is none of my business.
No, yeah. I mean,
I just want to sell lead paint to kids, like as milk. Like, let me just do that. I don't give a shit about this stuff. Well, I mean, like, it's just, yeah. I mean, you just see that even just as a headline: "Woman arrested for having a miscarriage." I mean, it's like, it's so gross. I mean, it's like, it's not this woman's fault. She had a miscarriage. It could be all kinds of shit. I don't know. Maybe the stress of the society.
That's the thing, is like,
you'll be arrested if you have a miscarriage.
Yeah,
have a miscarriage.
That's the thing, is that like, if you get on a roller coaster and you're 3 months pregnant, or let's say you get on a roller coaster and you don't even realize you're pregnant yet, and you have a miscarriage, are you liable? I mean, those are like legitimate questions that people in Texas
Their answer is no.
Well, yeah,
but yeah, you're right. Under these ridiculous rules, yeah, you fall into that. I mean, there's all they always want these blanket things, and they just ignore all the shit that chaos causes. Like, for years, people have said, like George W. Bush, I want to define marriage between a man and a woman. Well, guess what? It wasn't just an attack on gay couples. It was actually an attack on everyone, because it opens the doors to all kinds of weird nonsense. And like, there was a lot of chaos behind it. It wasn't as simple as just like, oh yeah, we're going to go ahead, what?
And they don't even follow through. It's like, if you say to Greg Abbott, like, well, what happens if the woman is raped? Greg Abbott's like, well, we're going to catch all the rapists. Their counter arguments are just like stupid as fuck. And like, there's that one, I forget, it was a male Republican who was making fun of Ketanji Brown Jackson for saying that she couldn't define a man or a woman because she wasn't a biologist. And a reporter asked him, I was like, well, what is a woman? And the guy's like, they can have kids. And the guy's like, well, if a woman has a
kids.
Yeah, he's like, if a woman has a hysterectomy, is she still a woman? And he's like, I don't know. Like, that's the fucking point, you shithead.
Dumb fuck.
Define a woman.
About women that didn't have one just can't have kids.
So yeah, what if you're infertile? What if you literally have your,
if you can't produce semen, are you a man?
Yeah, right.
I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're shooting blanks, are you a dude anymore?
Yeah. What if you had a dickectomy?
You got the same argument. Like, if you're not, hey, we're dudes. We can do what we want. We can do whatever we want, bro. Woo! Shoot down, babes on the side, and a Camaro.
Well,
and twins.
It is ridiculous, because their first argument will be, well, there will never be a slippery slope, and then immediately there's a slippery slope, and their answer is, well, who could have saw this coming?
Yeah, well, that's the joke too, is like, they're saying, like, the Republicans, like, Biden's only been president for 1 year, and he's literally cleaning up all the bullshit of Trump, which is going to probably last decades. And the Republicans are always like, oh, look, Biden hasn't fixed the things that we did. Better vote for us so that we can play this game again over and over. Play this never-ending game.
There is some overlap between this Greg Abbott shit and the Ron DeSantis stuff, which was the next thing on our list. Mm-hmm. And that Ron DeSantis, those two seem often to be in a race to see who can be the worst. Ron DeSantis had this big fatherhood rally.
Well, he really wants to be, like, he wants to be the substitute for Trump. Like, listen, Trump's going to be in legal hell. He's not going to be able to run. His brand is tainted. Old or whatever, but like, just January 6th is going to come up if he runs. Like, a lot of stuff's going to come up. Russia, all that stuff. But Ron DeSantis runs, he gets to do all that shit and doesn't bring the bag, even though has that baggage too. But the general public doesn't know that. Right. Less pay attention to things.
Less attached to it, in a visceral way.
So they could run him and he could be the new Trump. And he's just, all kinds of stupid shit. But the new thing is this bullshit fathers thing.
Yeah.
So can you explain that a little bit? Like, what they're so cold. He put like 70 million towards this program.
It's a crazy thing. I don't, to be fair, I don't know the specifics of the program. I know that he appeared with Tony Dungy at this big event.
Football coach or something?
Yep, he's a big character in Florida. I think he was the coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when they won a Super Bowl. And if you see him on TV, look, the guy comes across as like a real nice, smart guy. He was a black head coach in the NFL at a time when there still aren't many black head coaches, but like he was pretty universally liked, and like the players liked him and the fans liked him, and he seemed like a nice guy. But he's always had this really weird kind of like Christian nationalist bent to him. I mean, he's cool. Yeah, and he never, like, if you watched him on TV, you wouldn't think about it because he didn't like bring it to, his pep talk or his whatever. Yeah. But like you'd always read about him like in the papers about like attending these events and churches and stuff like that. Anyway, they're promoting this big fatherhood movement, and Tony Dungy's belief, and Ron DeSantis parroted this as well, is that like all the people that are in prison right now, the common denominator is they didn't have fathers in their lives.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And look, that's a gray area. I mean, you can look.
This is a classic. This is a decades-old Republican bullshit talking point. It's an attack on single working women of color.
Yeah.
If they get a black conservative come out and say, Bill Cosby did this for years too. To come out and say the real brown man that you don't have then, you gotta pull up your pants. And like
well, and it's
I
also
wasn't doing an impression of Dungy, is that his name? That was a Cosby.
Yeah, Tony Dungy.
Right. Make sure you're aware.
It's also like a return to 1950s nuclear family where the woman abided by what the man said.
But it's like, why is there no father? I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. Maybe one, there was no father, and it's a teen pregnancy.
Yeah.
And the dad was just some douchebag who knocked her up and disappeared.
Right.
That a lot. Why does that happen? I don't know. Probably because some parents complained to the school board and they removed sex ed and there wasn't prophylactics available. There's a lot of factors involved.
Well, and a lot of times it used to be that like if a woman got pregnant, she had to stick with the guy. Like sometimes women get pregnant and they realize the guy's a dickhead.
What happens when the guy doesn't stick with the woman?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of factors involved. And so this is just a tired meme the Republicans push of fathers not being around. It's an attack on gay women. It's an attack on single women because it's like, gee, the problem is that we need to have
Jezebel's
father figure, or we need to have, there needs to be more than one parent. Now listen, would people benefit in a family to have a dual parental? Yes, it would. Of course, it would be. But that's what they have to get along. They have to love each other.
Yeah.
They have to have an understanding. Some people are single because the spouse beat the living fuck out of them.
Yeah.
And then that woman or even man, which happens, they have to go into hiding. And now they're a single parent because that person, there's so many factors. It's such a easy cover, and it pushes a tired Republican talk.
It is. They just want to return to this 1950s or pre-1950s world in that sense. And the fact of the matter is that there's so many different variables
the unions
now.
And all the benefits of the family.
But like now, it's relatively common for people to have cars. That didn't used to be the case in the 1930s, right?
Yeah.
People can drive away. People can go out
if they have a car. If they have a car.
Well, I'm just saying, or public transportation or whatever.
If they have reliable public transportation.
People don't often live.
Do not have.
I'm just saying there's a lot of opportunities now. There's a lot of reasons why we don't have a nuclear family anymore. There's just a lot of reasons why that isn't
there's
the
a
case.
lot of, we don't live on a farm in the middle of nowhere. But it's just a I would love to know where this 70 million is going to go.
Yeah.
Where's this 70 million going to go? Because
my guess is that it's going to be distributed to church groups.
Yeah,
that it's all going to be faith-based.
And then he put out some bullshit about like, not bullshit, it sounds great when you read it, but about like foster families and how important it is. Okay, put out a Don't Say Gay bill. One of the biggest benefactors of foster families or kids who are fostered is gay couples.
Yeah.
And they would love to make sure that those people can never adopt or foster a kid.
Well, it is like some of the things in here, I don't know, some of the things in here sound good, like hiring case managers to help fathers find jobs and transition from prison. I'm 100% for that. Like,
sure, sounds good.
Yeah.
Sure.
Now, honestly, in the state of Florida, those case managers are probably going to be from a church, you know, and it's just
yeah,
be,
exactly.
So
it's money to the churches.
Yeah, that's the thing.
The church, and those same churches will guide their flock to vote for people like Ron DeSantis.
And that'll happen. Like when I worked in the foster care system in the state of Florida years ago, long time ago, and the only social service agency that we had to work with was Lutheran Social Services. It was a church group. They ran it, you know, and they've gone to court over and over again, and they can refuse to place a kid with a gay couple because it goes against their religion or whatever.
Yeah.
And so even the good programs, because like Ron DeSantis will say, like, how can you vote against case managers helping men transition from prison? Well, because of the church thing, Ron.
You're just funneling money into a church. That's really what you're doing, and those churches are.
Well, those churches
make sure that you get reelected.
Yeah, well, those churches exactly will, now that they have this extra money coming in from the government, they can take their church offerings and use that to spend on political donations and stuff. And that's how it goes. But I don't know. It is weird. Like you said, look, I'm not anti-father at all.
No, I'm not either. I just know that when Republicans push that or conservatives push that,
it means something different. Yeah,
it's a loaded, tired. Every couple of years, you see the same thing, and everything's wrong because, or like, why the father? They ignore. Okay, well, why is the dad in jail?
Right?
Is it maybe one reason the dad's in jail because he beat the shit out of the mother?
Yeah. Or could it be that like your town needed some revenue, so they kept arresting the guy for like a broken
the
tail
guy
light?
got pulled over for being arrested for something stupid.
Yeah.
So a drug charge that should have been like a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
Or nothing. Like, why is that, Mom? Like, why? It's like you said it right there. The church group. It's just money being fun. And that guy,
Tony Dungy. Yeah.
He's like you said, he's a Christian national. What is he?
Yeah, Christian. I call him a Christian nationalist. I don't know if he's super political, but that he is. You know, he may not think of it.
It's clearly church associated.
Yeah, it is. It's a cash grab by churches.
Yeah. Did DeSantis recently just give like a ton of money to like 600 million? I don't even know. I have to look into that one. Money that. Go ahead.
It could be. I know. Like I said, and Lutheran Social Services wasn't even a terrible social services agency. I mean, they were like reasonably fine, but it was still a religious group, and that was the only contract you could have. Like if you picked up a kid and you needed to put them in foster care, emergency placement foster care, that kid was getting funneled off to a church like it was the fucking Industrial Revolution era or something. You know, I mean, it was like. I mean, it's just something. It's weird.
We were gonna years ago. I don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I worked.
We were thinking about fostering a kid years ago, and it just like, man, it is tough.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of things that like.
Oh yeah, I used to be one of the people that would audit foster.
Like you could not just have people over. If you foster a kid.
Oh yeah.
You have to have background. You can't just have like friends over.
Right.
Like there has to be like background checks.
Yeah. Well,
people, which makes sense. I agree. Like, I get it.
yeah,
Probably in the past, people would get fostered and horrible
right.
people. You don't even know. So I'm sure there's horror stories involved, and that's why.
There are. I worked with foster families, and look, some of them were legitimately just in it for the money. All
You
they
mean
cared
like
about.
Cameron Diaz and the remake of Annie?
Yeah, some of them just were in it for the check. Some of them were the best people you'd ever run into. They were just like, we got, and honestly, it usually tended to be like the well-off people. They didn't even want the checks. They'd get the check and then buy the kid a bunch of shit with the check or whatever, and I mean, like, they had the luxury or the privilege of being that way. But some of them
everybody has that.
yeah, some of them were just,
can you give it back to a couple of kids?
yeah.
I don't know.
They were. I remember this one woman. She was Australian. She lived on the water in Florida, and she had a boat.
Eat a Vegemite sandwich.
I don't know. She may have. But like, she had a boat, and the kids. Every time you went over there, the kids were like just depressed as all hell to see you because they thought you were going to move them somewhere. But she would like get the checks, cash them, and just like blow it on the kids, and then it was, like a real fun thing.
Like crikey.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, get you all diggery, dude.
It was crazy. You'd come over there and you'd see them pop out of her pouch, and it was just like
it's covered in slime. What was that? Simpsons when they go to Australia and they jump in the pouch.
Yeah,
and they find out, because like cartoons are younger,
right.
You see them like jump in the pouch, like it's great. And it's like they were just like covered in slime.
Yeah,
it's like so funny.
Well, anyways, there's my foster story. I only lasted in that job for a year. It was devastating.
Well, regardless, I think nothing Ron DeSantis does is good faith in any way whatsoever. I think you
can always assume the worst.
He's
no lie.
He's an absolute monster. He hid COVID deaths. He hid COVID numbers. He literally fired people if the numbers got out. Like, an absolute piece of shit. They try to like put out some like thing, like, I don't even know. They try to like this anti-science bullshit. It's like the numbers in California are like non-existent now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I saw something the other day. I was like, they try to make the DeSantis administration trying to make this ridiculous claim saying like COVID didn't affect Florida. Like,
it
didn't affect Florida because you said it didn't affect Florida.
It's clearly wrong. There are, I think there's two groups or places or whatever that are going to get wrecked by COVID routinely, and one is red counties or chudtopias.
Chudtopias.
They're always going to get fucked by COVID, and frankly, from here on out, they're going to get fucked by just general diseases because I bet you they stopped vaccinating against.
It turned the whole anti-COVID vaccine movement turned into an anti-vaccine movement, and just a total denial of viruses in general.
And the other places, ironically, are going to be probably pretty liberal places, but that just so heavily rely on public transportation.
Heavily populated places like
Philadelphia, New York City, Chicago.
They said Philly is going to bring back mask mandates.
Well, it's a big, densely populated place that does
have. If you're making everyone go back to work, or go back to the office because you demand people have to commute and everything, and you weren't happy with I don't know. They said a lot of productivity, if anything, probably went up during the pandemic for people.
I read a study today that said that the current research suggests that the sweet spot is 1 to 2 days in the office and 3 days at home. And a friend of mine works for a big cosmetic company, and that's what her workforce has done, as they go once or twice a week into the office, and then the rest of it's homeward bound. They said it works real well for them. So
you come in, you get COVID, and then you spend those 3 days at home getting better, so you can come back to the office the next week.
A lot of people that have returned to the office full time say that they go to the office and they sit in their office and they're on Zoom calls in their office. With other people.
Because that's how it is now.
Well,
like, it's almost like like, oh, I have to take a meeting, I have to get on a plane and fly, right?
Right.
It's almost like you don't really have to do that
No.
anymore. Like, you have to have a good reason.
Yeah.
Like now.
Well,
A good way for companies to save a lot of money. Let me tell you, because if you're like an exec or like a higher up, man, the one thing they love to abuse when they have that power is the ability to claim they're going in a meeting, travel, and spend all that money on what they call that?
Bob Flash's shirts.
What?
Did you see that skit? What is that show? You Should Be Leaving Now, or
yeah.
Did you see that one episode where the guy he was at a business thing and he stopped eating and spent his per diem on these shirts from a store called Dan Flash's?
Yeah, that sounds really funny.
Oh, it's amazing. He spends all his money on these, and the shirts have these really complicated patterns, and you got to watch that. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's a great show.
Well, okay, so
right.
Ben Shapiro was recently destroyed at a college campus.
Okay, so Ben Shapiro did what he normally does, which is he goes to college campuses and probably gets invited by the young Republicans or whatever. They use that as a way. Comes in there and he attacks the left. And one thing he does is he was attacking trans people.
Yes.
Which is like what he does, because he's a little disgusting piece of shit. And again, we talked about this before. The right has transitioned, which is interesting word to use for them. Transitioned from not just attacking the trans part of LGBTQ,
right,
but just kind of just going after all of them.
Yeah, it was a quick shift, but yes,
quick shift. I'm wondering though, like how long that's going to last, because I just don't. This isn't 20 years ago. This isn't 15 years ago. I mean, like I said, there's people who have super brains. They'll go along with whatever the Republicans like. If the Republicans and Fox News, OAN, Newsmax, or whatever the fuck, Ben Shapiro, all these right wingers pushed a meme and said that they were all of a sudden fine with abortion.
Right.
You would see. It might take a little bit, but you would see if they got some crafty with some talking points, they would be pro-abortion.
Yeah.
They'd be more pro-abortion than anyone has ever been.
Yeah, that is true.
They would do it like that. I mean, fuck, they did it with Russia. Russia was the enemy.
Yeah.
Russia was the big enemy for years. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere,
that was
Putin's not that bad. Weird. That I guarantee you that they would flip on a dime if one day they were like, we're actually pro-abortion. Literally pro-abortion. Not like pro-choice.
Yeah, no, like they
like,
encouraging it.
Don't we have way too many people? I think that
well,
not Gilbert Gottfried impression, but a Ben Shapiro impression.
I saw two clips from the Ben Shapiro talk, and the first one, he's talking and someone shouts out "fuck you."
Yep.
And he's like, "That's not an argument." Blah blah. And my whole point was like, well, no, it's not an argument. Someone's just telling you to go fuck yourself, Ben. They're not arguing with you.
You're here at the school to create a stir.
Yeah.
You're not here in the school to have a conversation. No. Motherfucker, you don't go here.
Right.
You don't go here. You're just here to be a piece of shit and to attack young people who are learning about themselves. And that's it. And you're trying to create the tyranny of the trans community, the tyranny, like all this tyranny of pronouns. You know what Ben Shapiro's new pronoun is? Bozo.
Right, yeah. Well, that's another.
Let me play the clip for that one.
Let me play it,
because you can't do it justice more than this person. Now, there's some context to it, because what this person says in regards to that is a year or two ago, Cardi B put out a music video called DAP. No,
WAP. Yeah.
DAP was the thing Ben Shapiro likes.
Right.
WAP, which stood for I'll let you say it, Joseph.
I'm not going to say it.
Father of the daughter, I'll let you say it.
No, I'm good on that. He
ass P word.
Yeah.
And he went on this weird Twitter thing about like how like gonorrhea or something, like implying that a wet vagina was something to do with an STD or something.
He said that his wife's doctor has said the only time she's been wet was like when she had an infection of some sort, and then like
so it just created this whole argument like that Ben Shapiro does not excite his wife in any way whatsoever.
And then he tweeted something else like around the same time where it was like, my kid came and asked me what day it was, and I said Columbus Day or something. He was making a point about it being Columbus Day, and then he said that the kid went into his wife's bedroom. Like, wait a minute, what? That was
there's like a lot of big reveals on Ben Shapiro. Something like that it's very odd. So here's the clip. It's very short. Let me get it from the beginning. Wait. Let me put the volume. There we go. Fred and Linda Allen lecture series. That's what it says on the podium. Now, Ben Shapiro is nearing 40. And he's going to these college campuses.
And it's the same tired bit. It's like Gallagher.
You ever watch Venture Brothers?
Yeah.
Do you remember the guy, Billy Quizboy?
No.
He had like a little robot arm. He had like the big head.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like that was like the joke. He was like an old man, but he still lived off of like being this like game show, like this kid. It's Ben Shapiro. I'm gonna tweet that later. I'm gonna tweet
That's funny.
That character and Ben Shapiro. And you know I'm gonna put same energy. And it'll get at least 12, 14 likes.
Yes.
You retweet with that YSGOAT, maybe 18. 16. All right, here we go.
Dysphoria, which is a term that I use throughout the speech, not gender identity.
You sound like a bozo, bro. And you get no pussy, and you can't even make your wife wet, bro. So what's good?
That is how every college student should interact with Ben Shapiro from this day forward. That person nailed it. You're a bozo. I don't give a fuck. Like, get the fuck out of my school.
And if you had seen the clip, Ben Shapiro is like initially like shut down, like he doesn't know how to respond.
All the right wingers are like, that wasn't a burn. I'm like, you know what? I don't think it's a burn. I think it's more of just like a dismissal.
Yeah.
Like, fuck off. I don't give a fuck about you at all. You don't affect me. You shouldn't be. You have no reason to be here.
Yeah.
You're a bozo. and you can't I'll let this person say it again because they said it more eloquently.
Yeah.
I don't ever say it.
Dysphoria, which I literally said.
And this asshole is here. He's trying to talk about gender dysphoria, of course.
Right.
He's implying that anyone who's trans, he's delegitimizing
the experience.
That's exactly what he's doing. Saying like, oh, they need to go to a therapist or some bullshit.
That I use throughout the speech, not gender identity.
You sound like a bozo, bro. And you get no pussy, and you can't even make your wife wet, bro. So what's good?
That's the best. I love that. That was like a big meme back in like 2015. Where,
so what's good?
Yeah, Nicki Minaj said that to Miley Cyrus at some award show. She's like, "What's good?" And she said it kind of like that too. And so that's been like this weird.
What does that mean?
It just means like what's it
like? Are you saying like what's good about you, or like?
Yeah, like no, like what's going on with you? Like, tell me some good news about you. Like, it's kind of like a sarcastic mocking, like, you know, what's like, you don't get any action, you don't make your wife excited. So what's good? You know, like, what's going on? You know, like,
like
it's just such a perfect clapback.
It's great. He's a fucking bozo. It's a waste of time. He doesn't debate people. Like, debate an expert on the trans community. Debate someone on the left
social
that actually
scientist.
knows what they're doing. What?
a social scientist or something.
Yeah, debate some, have a true conversation. No, I'm gonna talk about fasting and try to get you and trick you up.
Well,
No,
that's the thing.
That's what he does to college kids.
Yeah, Ben Shapiro's good at like a few little debate tricks. And
Steve Crowder does the same thing too.
Yeah, and they're real basic. Like a lot of people are good at that type of shtick, but Ben Shapiro 100% needs an earnest, true believer that's maybe a little shaky and unsure of himself. That's what Ben Shapiro needs to like perform his shtick.
Well, on a college kid,
yeah,
that may know some stuff but doesn't understand rhetorical arguments.
Right.
Understand debate.
Is flustered, is easily redirected.
Yeah, easily flustered. Ben Shapiro could come in and twist it. He's a little debate club douchebag. Like he's not.
And this guy here, it didn't give him any of that.
He's like, you're a bozo.
Right.
You
debate that.
You're white. You dap. You're fucking. What good? Like.
Yeah.
I think it's a solid burn. I don't know. These people trying to try to act like it's the meme, that face of like the crying guy, and then the mask, the smiling face above the crying face. That's exactly what that is. I think that this, to me, like, is it the downfall of Ben Shapiro? No, but I think people need to do more of this. Like, he's a joke. Like,
well, this is the way forward. If this happens every time he shows up, he'll stop showing up.
Yeah.
Those people will stop.
Everyone should have a bozo chant before he comes on. Bozo. Like,
well, we saw that when you were still in Texas. We saw that at UNT when that weird anti-trans person went, and the kids just shut him down. They started chanting, and he looked like a clown.
Like some creep, like wasn't he like multiple divorce? Like he's just some asshole. Like
he's like he's a father's rights guy, is what he is. Like one of those. So.
Yeah, I think I want to see the full video of the whole thing. Or like people saying "fuck off," and he's like, "That's not the way to have an argument." Like, fuck you, dude. Your literal argument on your Twitter is facts have no feelings, but nothing you say is true.
Yeah.
So I guess you have tons of feelings because I want to hear some facts.
And these same people that are like, "Well, that's not hardly a debate," blah blah. They're the same people cheering on Trump.
Yeah,
he tells it. He's a straight shooter. He tells it like it is. I mean, like the narrative.
These are the same people who chicken out of debates. A good example. Here's one, and I have it on the list. I'll talk about it real fast. Herschel Walker.
Oh yeah.
Herschel Walker, first of all, is right. I say so. It's really sad, and I don't trust these polls. But supposedly he's polling better than Warnock right now.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
That's frightening. That's scary shit right there. Herschel Walker's a moron. Like
this
guy.
Yeah,
he's a Trump flunky.
He's dumb as a stick
because he got kicked out of some position that Trump gave to him and Dr. Oz. If Dr. Oz or Herschel Walker get in the Senate,
well, I think Dr. Oz is going to get his ass handed to him in Pennsylvania. I think that Fetterman's got that wrapped up.
Well, I don't. Do you think Oz will even make it into the primary?
I don't know. I don't know, but I think Herschel Walker was a legend when he was a running back for the University of Georgia. A lot of people still remember him.
Fucking hate. Let me tell you another reason why I fucking hate football. All these fucking grew up and get these idiots who like sports and they would talk trash about me because I like comics. I'm like, dude, you talk about these people like as if they're Batman.
Yeah.
You lionize these people.
Like
it's like you sound like a bigger dork than.
Yeah, that's true. But he was a big running back in Georgia. But today he has a lot of problems. One is he has threatened to shoot police officers. He's committed tons of documented acts of domestic violence.
Yeah.
He has recorded himself over and over again talking about all the times he's gotten high and played Russian roulette.
Nice.
Just today, there's a big article, I don't know if you saw this earlier today, but he's been saying for months and months now how he runs a company in South Carolina.
I found that. Let me look that up and see if I can.
Doesn't exist.
Yeah, he claimed that he runs this company, and let me see if I can find. Yeah, well, here's this one. In keeping with the Trump creed, Herschel Walker claims to own companies that don't exist. Why not? If TFG can invent valuation of property. Why can't Herschel Walker make up businesses?
Yeah.
Um,
He said he graduated University of Georgia. He never did. He said he was his high school valedictorian. He never was. I mean, it's just like, look, man, I mean, that is the
wait, what?
that is the big test, is if he gets elected, then it doesn't matter anymore, you know, as to like
This one guy wrote, "Dear Democrats, this is how you run against Herschel Walker in Georgia. There is an F ton of material out there. This is the blueprint. We can scare the hell out of voters just like they can. Buckle up and get the F to work. We need Senator Warnock." Let me see the. Let me.
We do not accept donations, but would have.
You're playing Russian roulette.
Yes.
With the one bullet in the gun, and you
Yes.
put the gun to the side of your head.
I put it to the side of my head. I put it in my mouth.
That's your ad right there. So fucking.
that's your ad. Yeah.
Do not accept donations.
Oh, sorry. Let me
but
turn
would
that off.
appreciate
Okay.
You just play that, you know, over and over again.
But there was one guy, I'm trying to find the reporter. He really nails it. Like, about Herschel Walker. Like, yeah, just making all these claims about businesses and having women they're gonna, and it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
There's no, and the other big one thing that kind of started this though was there was a primary debate and he didn't show up, and he doesn't plan on showing up to any of them.
Oh, why would he? Got
And
some more on.
it's really scary though how, and that's why I feel like, especially with Republicans and things like that, this anti-democratic, not Democrat, but democracy, literally anti-democracy, is that they don't care. They'll vote if they have a celebrity, a cult of personality type person, a celebrity or some Trumpian character or whatever. They don't care if this person ever shows up at the debate.
No.
They don't care. They just want their guy in. They don't give a shit. He can never show up. All the other Republicans that no one knows their name because they weren't famous football players.
Right.
They could say whatever they want about him. It won't make a fucking dent.
No.
And this motherfucker, if he wins the primary, he probably won't debate Warnock.
Oh, I doubt it would.
And I don't know. It's kind of scary. I mean, the reality is, it's like the only reason why you got Justice Brown in the right, that's Ketanji Brown in the Supreme Court was because Raphael Warnock and what's the other guy's name?
Ossoff. Yeah.
Ossoff won those Georgia runoffs
It's crazy.
the day before January 5th, the day before January 6th.
Yeah,
I don't think
that
people don't remember that. People don't think about that shit ever. They don't. All
stunning.
these so-called leftists that they all claim this bullshit, but they refuse to acknowledge the fact about how important every election is, and how the only reason why we got even one Supreme Court justice in was because of this election in Georgia. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And you're going to allow, you sit back and allow these ghouls like Greg Abbott play games with the trucks and the delivery of goods so that people can push a Biden's ineffectual meme.
Yeah.
While they run clowns like Herschel Walker and Dr. Oz. Like, it's scary shit, man. It really is.
No.
I don't think people really appreciate, like,
well,
I'll
feel better when no one's paying it. Only a few people are paying attention right now. When the election season gets closer, I'll see what sort of.
Right. I mean, Herschel Walker's winning a primary because it's like, one, where are they polling this?
Yeah. I mean, this is basically Rome, Georgia, home of Marjorie Taylor Greene, and probably Hazard County.
Where's this poll being? Dipshit, Georgia? Like, where? Where, it's like the same thing. I want to know. I saw a poll the other day or some bullshit claiming like people want Trump back in. Who? Yeah. Where?
We asked all 4 patrons of the Hog's Nest, the boys. Where'd Boss Hog have his
Kyle
restaurant?
Rittenhouse, his mom.
Yeah, right.
His absent father. Hey,
right.
I agree, Ron DeSantis. I think dads should be around. Maybe Kyle Rittenhouse wouldn't have murdered 2 people.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe he would have killed more.
Well, I said, and this
is probably a piece of shit.
This kind of like is linked into that whole Ben Shapiro, Herschel, the whole like Twitter conservative.
I don't even understand though the appeal of Herschel Walker.
Well, like I said, it's twofold. One, in the state of Georgia, he's a real well-known name. He just is amongst a lot of people in Georgia.
His son.
Oh God. And two, he's glued to Trump's ass, and if you like Trump, then Trump and Herschel Walker go way back.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like
he was talking about like during the convention, Herschel Walker spoke there, and he was talking about like going to Disney. The kids remember him and everything. Yeah, very strange. So it's just funny though how like you find out he has like all these problems and he's like this terrible person, and like that's the people that flock to each other.
Tracks.
Well, let me see. I'm just gonna see if I can. I think if I go by likes, I'll find it. Okay. I like too much shit though. Oh, I found it. Okay, here we go. No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen.
Yeah.
Herschel Walker has been claiming he owns a business with 280 women in South Carolina. Unearthed records reveal it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
He's repeatedly bragged about starting this non-existent business, calling it the largest company of its kind in the U.S. He also claimed that he graduated high school and was the valedictorian.
Yeah.
He did not graduate high school.
Oh, he graduated high school. He didn't graduate college.
That's it.
Yeah, because he said he claimed he was high school valedictorian, wasn't, and then he claimed he graduated college and he didn't. Yeah,
I like this guy. He has good tweets. This guy. Greg Abbott is shipping human beings halfway across the country for publicity stunt while halting shipments of products across the country, causing rising prices. Let that sink in.
Yeah,
just a little earlier. You know what? I'm just going to read people's tweets going forward on the podcast. They really do a better job of like getting like I'm just going to end up looking for it anyway. But man, he had like one about, it's fine. I mean, Herschel Walker's a clown.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Herschel Walker says he graduated in the top 1% of his class in college. He didn't even graduate. He says he was a high school valedictorian. The school didn't even have valedictorians. That was it. They didn't even have one. He claims to own the largest upholstery company in the U.S. Company doesn't even exist. I mean, he sounds like he'll probably be the next president of the United States.
Yeah, right.
I mean, what a clown. And the guy, like, his brain is like, doesn't work. I think he has like tons of like football injuries too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of right-wing shit and like that, Twitter.
Yeah,
I've noticed, at least on my end. Now, the thing is, I'll say this right here. I don't follow a ton of people, but I follow enough people, and I get like, because the way Twitter works is like, if you like if you follow someone, you're going to kind of see what they like or what they retweet. You're going to see some of their followers. Sometimes I see like I see this guy's stuff a lot because one, it shows up and I clicked on it. But the one thing I've noticed lately is that like I would get people that would retweet Lauren Boebert or retweet like a right winger or like that. And I would see that on my feed.
Yeah.
Now Twitter is just actively putting right-wing personalities into my Twitter feed.
I get that.
The actual tweet itself from that.
Yeah.
Like, that's weird. I've noticed that more over the past week. Now, I've been using it for years. Now, some people will be like, well, what with algorithm works? I'm like, no, because if that was the case, then Lauren Boebert would have been shown up on my feed 2 years ago or a year ago.
Yeah.
This is very recent. I've noticed over the past week or two of like a lot of my feed being like, at first I thought I was on my bullshit account, Stan, which
right.
I never really did much. I had like, remember,
I remember that. Yeah.
Remember, Scumbag Stanley wanted Kyle Rittenhouse to play Peter Parker in the Spider-Man movie, which, I don't know. Probably Ben Shapiro's version of Spider-Man for the Daily Wire. Maybe I'll have.
I know that like Twitter doesn't care if you like or dislike something. It just cares that you feel strongly about something. So sometimes I will get in the trap of like trash talking on a Republican thread or whatever. And as a result, Twitter is like, oh, this really gets this guy worked up. And then I just start seeing a ton of Republican stuff.
I just noticed it more recently. And I'm like wondering, like, that's the Elon effect.
Yeah, it could be.
I'm sorry, but if like, it would make sense for me. It would make sense to me that he would say, oh, Twitter isn't fair to the right wing. So my suggestion to Twitter now is that you start
pumping right wing.
Elevate their voices so that these show up more in people's feeds.
Yeah.
And it would not shock me. I mean, like they prop them up. And
yeah.
So, I mean, Lauren Boebert's tweet literally was like, please, Elon, bring back free speech. What the fuck is that? This is the guy who fired somebody for talking about like how the Tesla, the self-driving didn't work.
Yeah.
And he got fired because it got out. Yeah, that's free speech. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna pay attention, see if it's like a weird fluke, if it gets worse. Because I think it's kind of odd. It is.
I've noticed it the last week or two as well. I don't know. I'm keeping an eye on it for sure.
Well, let me see. I'm gonna go on my feed real quick. And one of them is the ghost of Donald Trump. What? No, I'm just kidding. Hitler's ghost is Jesse Helms. What? No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, Lord.
The Lyndon LaRouche Society. Remember that guy?
Yeah. Oh man.
I don't know. All right. Well, okay. So what else we got? Oh, speaking of right-wing Twitter, this one, ghost guns.
Yeah.
So Biden, I guess, put in an executive order, like
he put to deal with ghost guns. And
basically that they could be traced, right?
Yeah, the basic idea is that ghost guns they're just hard to track. They're basically kits that you sell, and then the person builds their own gun or whatever, and it's not, there's no record of it being anywhere. It'd be like if I sold you, a 10-piece kit,
chicken nugget.
Yeah, and you put all the pieces together, and then you had a gun.
Oh, that sounds totally legit. Like,
well,
a person who would buy something like that would never use the gun for bad stuff.
Yeah, it does.
I just like untraceable weapons because they're cool, not because
And basically, the law is, and I'm very much abbreviating it, is that if you sell something like that, whether it's a 3D printed gun or or a kit, that you're selling to for people to build guns, you got to affix a serial number to it, and that's got to be trackable. So it's really a minor thing. I mean, it's not a huge deal, but right-wing chud versus
they don't want any regulations on guns. I say this: stop treating guns like a fucking religion. It's a product.
Yep.
It's not ingrained in our country. It's a fucking product, and it's one of the only industries that gets to enjoy a unending, barely any regulations. Imagine a toy company made something and one kid choked. They would be out of business.
It's harder to buy Sudafed than it is to buy a gun.
Yes. Yeah.
It is. You have to like give your name and ID to the pharmacist if you want a third box of Sudafed or whatever.
Sudafed. Yeah. Over-the-counter item.
So yeah. Anyway, this ghost gun thing, it makes perfect sense. I mean, like I get the gray area here. Like if you are selling a gun part, let's say there's a guy living in rural Montana, has a good reason to have a rifle. He
Feral hogs.
Yeah, whatever. And he's like, you know what? I want, a special longer.
I want to add a pocket pussy to the gun, and
I want to
fuck my gun.
I want to attach a fleshlight to the barrel of my gun
on the end.
But and look, there's plenty of reasons why you might want to modify some type of gun. Let's say you have like well, who knows? It doesn't matter. But like all of those things are things that there should be no reason why you shouldn't put a serial number on it, just so you can trace it.
It's complete bullshit. The fact that it's called ghost guns, I'm sure that's not what they wanted to call it, but it's called that for a reason. It doesn't sound good. But here we go. Blake Masters, some right-wing asshole.
Yeah.
I made this ghost gun a few months ago. Very legal and very cool. But now, thanks to Biden, new rules change. I would be a felon if I made another one just like it today. And then Blake Master says, our founders built their own guns. They intended us to as well. It's the ultimate political act of liberty the 2A protects. Technology will not be stopped. With 3D printing, it's going to get easier year after year. I'll be a political check on gun control, but the technological check is inevitable. So stupid. I wrote on his thing, I said, you don't live in the 1700s.
Yeah, fucking moron.
Shit. And okay, well, then I'm fine with you making a 3D printed gun of what they used in the Revolutionary War. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, or you can make the same exact gun you made last week, but you stamp the number 84 on it or something. Now it's legal. Yeah, right.
You're happy. 1488 on it.
Or 1776. Who the fuck cares? You just give it a serial number. That's all you do, you jackass. I mean, what my complaint
about. I love that whole because in the 1700s they 3D printed guns.
Well, it's exhausting.
So I retweeted this thing I just wrote. My ghost gun is very legal and very cool. Oh, well, what the fuck? Lauren Boebert wrote some bullshit too about guns. And
it's exhausting to keep up with these morons. It just is.
It is exhausting, right?
Mm.
Thankfully, I'm going to enter the alternate reality of for mankind.
Yeah.
I'm gonna enter that world. And I don't know what season 2 or 3 is gonna be like, but maybe I'll regret it. So
wow. Well, I guess this would probably be a good place to.
Speaking of ghost guns,
yeah,
this is a ghost gun.
Well, it's the New York shooting. It's a real scary and sad story. Apparently this guy is from Wisconsin, and he sounds not well. There's a lot of YouTube videos of him.
Most people that do this stuff aren't not well.
Well, he sounds more. I don't know what he sounds like. Anyway, I heard he was the one who gave the police the tip that led to his own arrest. I don't know why he didn't just surrender. But he
wanted to play a game.
Yeah, he got on the subway with a gas mask and some smoke grenades and a bunch of guns, and he shot like a dozen people or so.
It's awful.
Yeah.
The smoke bombs. That's what I always love too about the good guy with a gun.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? He just wrote some smoke bombs. You'll probably end up shooting everyone except him.
Yeah. It's so yeah. And
that's what the guy in the Aurora Theater did years ago, the Batman movie where he killed people. There's smoke bombs. So even if you're already in this dark theater, and now smoke bombs go off. Shit, and he's spraying bullets everywhere. Good guy with a gun doesn't exist.
Yeah. Most honestly, the good guy with the gun thing, that never really pans out.
No, it's always good bullshit. It's very but I always say that as a joke, but actually, if anything, it's like, okay, what about the police department? They were putting out hey, if you see this man, it's like, dude,
yeah,
the New York Police Department is rivals armies in the world.
Yeah.
I learned more about the New York Police Department this past day. They have foreign offices, 11 foreign offices around the world. They have submarines in New York. The police department.
I did not know that, but I believe it. Yeah.
No, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, Godzilla might be in the water. That thing from Overfield.
Rosilla.
What?
Rosilla.
Oh, no. Not another. Yeah. Rosilla. Not another Godzilla problem. Here we go again. Let's get the scoop.
Get in the sub, boys.
In the sub, boys. We got another Zilla. But it just shows how ineffectual they are sometimes. I saw something recently. This is what the cops in New York are good at. Pulling over poor immigrants for trying to sell churros or fruit salad on the
loose cigarettes.
Not even that. Not even that. Just a churro cart.
Yeah.
They go after those people like that. You want to go walk on the subway with a churro cart. That's when the cops show up. That's when they all of a sudden they're in effect. But this, I don't know. Listen, do I expect the cops at the moment that happen? No. I mean, they're not robots.
Yeah.
But I don't know, the fact that it took forever and the guy basically turned himself in.
Yeah.
It's like, doesn't seem very effectual.
No, it is weird. They have a lot of they have equipment built for like these military operations, and that's not really their mission.
Well, we learned what those are good for. We
Yeah.
learned that during the George Floyd protests.
Yeah. I don't know. It's tough. I mean, this is just such a weird, quirky little story. I mean, like, I don't mean that in a dismissive way or anything. Yeah, it's just it's weird. You know, I mean, this is like, in some ways, it's amazing it doesn't happen more often.
He was claiming it was like a homeless problem or something.
I don't know. I don't know. I know that a lot of his videos talked about, they talked about race relations and stuff, and how he thought that, Black people and white people shouldn't live together, shouldn't communicate or something. It was some real weird stuff. I don't know. I always, not always, but often I find that like a lot of this is like Joker stuff where it's like, oh, this person had mental health problems. They were treated for a long time, and then due to budget cuts, they didn't have mental health services. And then they just kind of gradually lost touch with reality, alienated all their friends and family. And the next thing you know, they're on a bus with a gun. You know, that's usually, I'm not saying that happened here. It would not stun me if that's what happened here.
Yeah. It's I mean, it happens all the time in the United States.
Yeah.
It's just, I think the biggest thing is just that, like, I think the criticism just goes to the police in New York. It's like, how do you, they have like the biggest budget in the country. They have like, after 9/11, and this is like, we talked about this before on this podcast, like after 9/11, like almost all like police departments in the country were given like militarized weapons. These people don't know what they're doing. This isn't the military. These guys are not military people.
No.
I don't know. It sucks. It sucks for people who rely on the subway.
Mm-hmm.
You hear about these stories in the past. You hear about like how dangerous it could be. I remember when I lived in Astoria, no joke. I wasn't on the subway at the time, but like one of my subway stops in Astoria, I don't know if you remember the story at all. It got around. Guy swinging a chainsaw around.
Oh, I remember here. Yeah.
Let me tell you, I consider myself very fortunate in that I never, not run into a chainsaw maniac, thankfully.
Right.
Yeah. Because when you run into them, you usually don't run in anymore because they get a chainsaw. I try not to run into people with chainsaws. I try to run away from them.
Run away from them.
Run away, yeah. Oh, nice chainsaw. Oh, thank you. But there was like a guy with like a hatchet. I remember in Philly, I heard this story. You just hear all these horror stories. Like, people just want to commute, like they gotta go to work, they gotta go places.
Yeah.
And then you hear this shit, and it's just like, it just sucks. And you just feel like the police department, it's like completely ineffectual. It's like, no, what are they good at? Again, making sure some poor old immigrant isn't like selling churros in the subway.
Yeah.
So, like,
they mostly just generate revenue.
Yeah, a lot of it is, and it funnels back into whatever. Yeah, I know. They're just tax collectors.
Yeah.
I mean, tanks don't pay for themselves.
They don't grow on trees.
They don't. You know, they couldn't afford to get PPE to hospitals, couldn't produce them in time in the beginning of COVID, but they were able to give full-on military gear to people to stomp protesters.
Yeah. Right.
The funny thing is about Ben Shapiro, going back to him.
Yeah.
One thing I'm sure Ben Shapiro would love is be able to go on stage, tell people how things are.
Yeah.
Somebody speaks out against him, he probably would want the police department to be able to stomp on that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
100% believe that.
With a big Clydesdale. With a big.
Yeah. Like 100% believe that. Like it's not like, oh, I believe that because I just think. No, it's because it's a fact.
Right. Yeah.
These are like all these so-called free speech warriors. They're They're the biggest fucking fascists. They don't want free speech.
It is true. That is.
All right. Well, on a good note,
Yeah.
You know what? I think after this is over, I'm gonna go escape into my alternate reality of and watch the 8th episode, season 1 of For All Mankind.
Yeah.
I hope it's still this potential utopia.
Yeah.
But,
You'll love it's such a great show.
I'm
also going to text you the Dan Flash's skit, which I think I've only found it on Facebook for some reason. I've never seen it on YouTube.
This is from that guy?
Yeah.
The show on Netflix?
Yeah. Dan Flash's. Yeah, it's the same guy who did Coffin Flop.
Yeah. Remember that one, the hat he wears at I don't know, it was like at a funeral or something. It's like hat had flax on it.
Yeah.
And the sloppy steaks though. Steaks covered in water or something. Wet. Oh god, it's so gross.
All right. Yeah, get ready for that. That'll come shortly.
Oh, can't wait. It's gonna be exciting. All right. Well, hopefully next week will be a great week and nothing bad will happen. Right?
I'm sure.
Only good news.
Yes.
Hopefully we don't lose any more. Oh, I did tweet the one thing after Gilbert Gottfried died. It said someone keeps taking the wrong comedians.
Yeah. Fucking Louis C.K.'s winning the Grammy.
Yeah, Louis C.K. wins a Grammy. Louis Anderson dies.
Right. Yeah.
I'm not saying that Louis C.K. should die.
No.
I don't think that. I'm just saying that,
And in all fairness, Louis Anderson probably didn't deserve a Grammy. So.
Well, he probably had a hard time getting a Grammy. You know why?
He's dead.
I mean, you could give a dead person a Grammy.
True. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so weird. Now, I guess the question, okay, real quick, because you brought that up before we wrap this up. Louis C.K. wins a Grammy.
Mm-hmm.
And people are like, what the fuck? You can make the argument and say, okay, well, Louis C.K. put it out himself. No one, he doesn't have Netflix or any studio. He's putting it out himself. Okay, whatever. Have at it. You still have a fan base. They're going to support you.
Sure.
Go right ahead. I question the Grammys for nominating.
Yeah.
That's the choice they made.
Yeah, they could. There was enough. There were enough comedians so that they could have looked elsewhere.
Right. There's other content. It's like people who their comedy, the comedians they like, the people deciding this are people the people they're liking are people they stopped liking new people after 2005.
Yeah.
And they didn't bother looking into the current state of those people. You know what I mean? They still think that Dave Chappelle has that awesome show on Comedy Central, and he's not a big transphobe weirdo, and Louis C.K. doesn't have those allegations out about him. They're just oh no, he's really funny. I saw some clip of him from I don't know, could have been last year or 20 years ago. I'm not sure.
All these people should check it over with their grandkids before they start submitting their ballots.
I was gonna nominate Louis C.K. What do you think? Real quick too. Good example of doing a little bit more research before you nominate someone. Years ago, this is when I was living in Texas. Years ago, one of the Dallas newspapers, kind of equivalent of a Village Voice type paper.
Oh,
they were going to nominate Texan of the Year.
Yeah.
And one of the names that came up was Richard Spencer.
Oh, wow.
Because he's from Texas.
Yeah.
And they were going to nominate that. He was considered one of the nominees. People came out and said, are you fucking insane?
Yeah.
And they removed him from the nomination.
Yeah, good.
Now, I'm not saying that Louis C.K. is Richard Spencer.
No.
What I'm just bringing up is that they didn't have to nominate him.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, that's the original problem.
Without all the new content he wants. I just question the awards that would nominate. You would just think they would be oh wait, this is
Let's go to the next one.
There's other creative people out there. There's a lot of people in the world. It's the same people who keep casting Chris Pratt for all the cartoon voices.
Right.
There's other people out there. But if you're really lazy, there's other Chris's out there.
Chris Pine, good one. Yeah.
Chris, yeah. The guy who's Captain America is also named Chris Evans.
Yep. Chris Evans.
Yeah, there's other Chris's you don't
Chris
have.
Everett Lloyd.
Yep, sure. I don't know who that is, but sure.
Christopher Lloyd.
Christopher Cross.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who that is. Christopher
Famed
Lloyd,
director Christopher Columbus.
Yeah. And also the discoverer.
Yeah.
Not kidding. Just kidding. He didn't. He's. I don't know. All right. Well, on that note, I'm Rob Israel.
I'm Joseph K.
You still going on about
that.
Thank you for listening to You Still Going On About That. Please like, comment, share, and if you haven't done already, please follow us on Instagram, YSGOAT, Facebook, YSGOAT, and Twitter, YSGOAT. Thank you, and have a great day.